So, a very good morning and welcome to Defense Pro X Level 1 training. I have already introduced myself. Coming to the agenda. So, this is the agenda. Okay. So, as you know, this is a 3-day course. So, we have day 1, day 2, day 3. The format of this training would be something like this. First, we will be starting off with the presentations, and then there would be a lab session at the end. Okay. So, primarily during the first half of the day, we'll be looking into the presentations part, and then once we are finished with the presentations, I'll be assigning you individually a lab access which you can log in and do all the configurations that are part of the presentation which we have covered for that particular day. Okay. So it is divided into two parts, and the same thing follows for all the 3 days. Okay. So on day one, we'll be covering these topics. First, we will understand what is Defense Pro. Okay. The hardware connectivity, what all ports are available, which kind of ports are available, what are the port configurations, what are the bandwidth of those ports. Okay. So hardware related stuff. Then protection policies, how to create a policy, how to enable protection modules, which all protection modules are available. Okay. Uh, what all need to be configured under the protection policy, how to classify a particular traffic that is incoming. So all that is part of the protection policies. Next, we have Defense Pro maintenance. Maintenance is primarily related to upgrade, resetting the device, like troubleshooting the device, or mostly related to the upgrade stuff or how to schedule certain tasks. So let's suppose if you want to schedule the configuration backup of a particular device in a particular on a particular day. So how to do that? So all that is part of Defense Pro maintenance. Then we have Cyber Controller Analytics for Defense Pro. Cyber Controller, as you know, is a centralized management system of Radware through which we can configure and manage multiple devices, not just Defense Pro. We can manage Altion devices, we can manage Defense Pro devices, or any other device, okay, which is from Radware. We can basically control and manage from a centralized location. So that is Cyber Controller. So what all things can we visualize on a cyber controller from the analytics perspective? Okay, like thresholds, like let's suppose what is the CPU utilization, what is the memory utilization. Okay, so all the dashboards that are visible on the cyber controller, like which attack happened, okay, how the attacks are classified, all those things would be part of the cyber controller analytics. Then the labs would be related to how to set up the Defense Pro device, like how to add the Defense Pro device onto the cyber controller, okay, how to configure protection policies, all those things would be covered today under the lab part. Day two, we'll be looking into the protection modules in deep. Okay. Uh, we will start off with the behavioral DOS engine, which is a patented technology from Radware. So we'll start off with the BDOS protection, understand what is BDOS, how we classify an attack, how we learn, how we characterize, how a real-time signature is being created. Okay. So all those would be part of BDOS. We'll also look at the graphs, which will be helpful in tuning a particular attack. Next, we have DNS protection. So if you have any DNS servers at your backend, how to protect them? Okay. What all protection modules are present within the DNS protection? So DNS protection includes many protection modules. Okay, like allow list, it could be name server challenge, it could be behavioral detection. So within the DNS itself, there are multiple ways to protect a server against attacks. So we'll be covering all of them under the DNS protection. Then we have SYN flood protection. So this particular protection module protects you against SYN flood attacks. Okay. So whenever there is a SYN flood attack happening, the Defense Pro will be challenging the particular client. Okay. So how it performs the challenge, what is the traffic flow? So all those would be covered under SYN flood protection. Next, we have out of state protection and basic traffic filters. Out of state protection, I'll just give a brief idea. It is if a server is receiving the first packet and the first packet is not a SYN packet, then it is known as out of state packets. Okay. So how to protect against those packets is covered under out of state protection. Then we have basic traffic filters, which will also be covering on day two. So here we can have some granularity. We can basically classify the incoming traffic, and based on that classification we can take decisions whether to drop the traffic or the whether to bypass the traffic. So that is your basic traffic filters. Okay. and the lab session related to all those topics would be covered on day 2. On day 3, we'll be looking into signature protection. So signature protection protects you against known vulnerabilities or known kind of attacks. Okay. Then we have block and allow list. This is a standard block and allow list where you specify with what traffic is allowed, what traffic is not allowed. Third is location-based mitigation. So based on the geographical location, let's suppose if you want to block a certain traffic originating from a certain country, then you can do it via location-based mitigation. Okay. ERT active attackers feed, I'll explain you during the presentation. That is also being covered. So basically, we maintain a database of known malicious attackers, and that database is provided to you. So any traffic originating from those malicious actors would be blocked by the system. So that is your ERT active attackers feed. Then we have connection limits. So this is related to the normal rate limiting feature. Like you can block a certain IP for a certain range, so that is connection limits. Then we'll look into basic troubleshooting, some troubleshooting activity related to Defense Pro. And again, you have the lab access for all the topics that we have covered on that respective day. So this is the agenda for all the 3 days with respect to Defense Pro X Level 1. As you all know, this is a certification level exam. So there are two exams which are primarily taken in order to certify you. The first is the hands-on practical exam. So I'll just give you an overview. It's a 2-hour exam. Okay. You can take this exam on the last day of the training, which is Wednesday. So if you're interested, you can let me know that you want to take the exam and we can coordinate and we can have the lab assigned to you and you can take the exam. Okay. So it's a 2-hour exam. So here we'll be assigning you a document, exam document, in which you will get a set of questions that you need to configure on your lab. Okay. So once you configure everything and once you finish it, just reply to me on mail that you have completed it and I'll grade it for you. And the passing percentage is 75%. Okay. So if you have scored 75% or above, you're automatically enrolled into the web-based certification exam. Okay. So web-based certification exam is a online multiple choice question exam. Okay. You have 3 months of time from the day you took the hands-on practical exam or when you passed. Okay. The day you passed, you have 3 months of time to take this web-based certification exam. So it is not compulsory that you take both the exams together. You can take the hands-on practical exam first. Once you pass it, you will be enrolled into the web-based certification exam, and then you have 3 months time to take the exam. Okay. And if you score 75% and above in the web-based certification exam as well, you will be certified with Radware Certified Security Specialist certification, which is Defense Pro X Level 1 certification. Okay. So these are the two exams that you need to pass in order to get the certification. Okay. So yeah, you'll also get a course of completion certificate as well once you finish this particular course. So that was all about me, the Defense Pro X Level 1 agenda and the certification. I would like to have a small introduction from each one of you now so that I can get to know you guys better. Some of the participants I already know from the previous class that I took last week. Okay. But it would be great if you could introduce yourself as well so that others can know you better. So let's get started with Ali.
Hi,
Yeah, hi, Ali.
I'm from the Guarantee team, network security team.
Okay.
I have been working about 1.5 years. I'm dealing with the Radware about a couple of months. I'm
Hmm.
looking forward to see the news and the product news.
Yeah. Welcome, Ali. Great to have you here. Next, can we go with Arman?
I I work as cybersecurity engineer as a distribution company, Moog Computers.
Okay,
Um,
perfect. Welcome, Arman. Next, Laban.
Hey, I'm Troy. I work as a cybersecurity analyst at Commerzbank, and yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Okay, great to have you here as well, Bashar. David. David, you there?
David?
Hi.
I'm big.
Yes, I'm here. I'm from Max. We are in the team of security. This is, and we have Defense Pro in my company.
Okay, okay, perfect. Welcome, David. Dio?
Oh yeah, my name is Dayo. From Out of Africa, network security engineer. Thank you.
Okay, welcome, Dio. Felix?
Hello, I'm Felix. I'm from Germany. I work for Truvia as a cyber defense engineer, and we do 1/3 of the banking in Germany.
Oh, perfect. That's great. Yeah, welcome, Felix. Great to have you. Next, I guess it's Idan.
Hi. My name is Idan. I'm from Maxit Finance. It's a credit card company in Israel, and I'm from the network security team.
Okay, perfect. Welcome. I hope you have a great time.
Thank you.
Ilka?
Hello, this is Ilker. I work as an SE in an InfoSec company. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Welcome. Mehmed?
Hi, I am Mehmet. I am joining the training from the Garanti BBA Turkey. This is my first training with Radware.
Oh,
Thanks.
that's great. That's great. Welcome. I hope you have a great time here as well. Welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah. Next, Sean.
Hello everyone, my name is Sean. I am also from Max, network
Yep.
security engineer.
Perfect. Welcome, Sean. Shlomi? Shlomi? There?
Yes, I'm Shlomi. I'm from the network security team in banking segment.
Perfect. Perfect. Welcome, Shlomi, once again. Next, we have Toje.
Hi, I'm in a network team, and I work at the French Postal Service.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Welcome, Toje. Next, last but not the least, we have Yusuf as well. So, Yusuf, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm Yusuf. I work for ISP in Canada, and we use Radware as a part of our protection for our clients.
Perfect. Perfect. Welcome everyone, and let's get started now with the presentation part. It is great to have you all here, and I hope you have a great time as well with me. So let's get started. I hope my screen is visible to you. So let's continue. So there's a small video which explains the DDoS, or basically the introductory part to the DDoS. So let's have a look at it.
DDoS attacks are breaking records nearly every day, and they're getting more sophisticated. Networks are getting more complicated to manage and secure. And you? Are you prepared? Introducing Radware's new Defense Pro platforms. We're calling it Defense Pro X. It combines performance, state-of-the-art protection, and usability, featuring the most powerful DDoS mitigation platforms with dedicated hardware, equipped with robust, cutting-edge processors that handle 2 to 3 times more packets per second to secure your operations and enable business continuity while under attack. Defense Pro X leverages Radware's industry-leading automated protection for network and application layer threats, delivers enriched visibility with robust analytics during peacetime and when under attack, advanced SecOps to enable faster mitigation actions, and simple unified management and configuration across all deployments with an innovative policy editor for advanced protection coverage. Defense Pro X offers all this and more. Modular platforms, internal optical bypass and high port density, TLS acceleration hardware, full redundancy, and high availability. Defense Pro X, the VA, the 10 and 20, the 40, the 80, the 100 and 200, the 400 and 800. They are all here. So, are you prepared?
So that was a small introduction of Defense Pro and what all devices we have under the portfolio. I'll be showing that at a later stage as well. So what are the models, what are the model numbers, what are the mitigation capacity, legitimate throughput, etc. All would be covered. So no need to worry at this particular moment. So first of all, let's get started in understanding how Defense Pro works and how it is part of the greater solution that we have, which is data center protection solution. So it is part of the data center protection solution. We just do not have Defense Pro devices. We have devices that can protect you from majority of the attacks, which is part of the data center. Like it can protect your layer 7 attacks, right, with the help of WAF functionality, which is web application firewall. It can protect you against layer 3, layer 4 DDoS kind of protections using Defense Pro. Okay, we have a cloud system as well. So if you are considering deploying this in the cloud, then we have cloud DDoS protection. Okay, so the traffic would be directed or diverted first to the cloud, and then it can come back to your local data center. So even that is possible. So DOS protection, we will be using Defense Pro devices. So in order to protect against DOS kind of attacks, we'll be using Defense Pro devices. For the WAF, that is to protect against layer 7 kind of attacks, we have web application firewall, which is also known as AppWall when it comes to Radware. So the web application firewall is known as AppWall. Okay. Now this can be a physical device or it could be a cloud device as well. So it can be hosted on the cloud or it can be integrated with the Altion device. If you want to protect against layer 7 kind of attacks, okay, layer 7 attacks, which is primarily your web attacks, okay, those can be protected with the help of web application firewall, which is known as AppWall or CloudWalk. Okay, AppWall or CloudWalk. AppWall is the physical device. CloudWalk is the one which is hosted in the cloud. So it would work something like this. So let's suppose we have, let's consider both the options. I'll just show you how it works. So we have client. Okay. So let's suppose we consider CloudWalk first. And then we have origin servers. So these are your servers. So all the requests would be diverted to the cloud. Okay. So all the traffic would be diverted to the cloud. The cloud will inspect this. The CloudWalk will inspect the traffic. If it finds that there is an attack, okay, within this request, it will simply block that particular request and send out a blocking page. And it will send out a blocking page. And the traffic would not be forwarded to the server. Okay, so this is just an overview of how the cloud functionality works. Let's suppose now we take an example of the app wall or the local firewall. So in this case, the client traffic won't be going towards the cloud work. Here, it works something like this. At the LAN or within your organization. So let's suppose this is your organization. Okay. And this is your backend server. So here, and there might be multiple servers as well. So we'll be using a load balancer called Altion. So this is the Altion load balancer. Load balancer from Radware is named Altion. Okay. So here we have an Altion. The app wall would be integrated on top of this Altion. So we have this WAF integrated on top of the Altion. So the traffic flow would be something like this. So all the client requests will go to the Altion. Since Altion is a load balancer, it has to load balance between the different servers. Now, once this traffic is received at the Altion, Altion will forward the traffic to the WAF engine. Okay. WAF engine will inspect the traffic. If it feels that it is an attack, it will block the traffic and does not forward it to the backend server. Okay. And send out a blocking page similar to what we saw in the cloud WAF as well. Okay. But in case if this wasn't an attack and it was just a legitimate traffic, in this case, it would flow like this. The client request reaches Altion. Altion forwards it to the WAF. WAF will inspect the traffic. It will check whether the traffic is proper or not, or whether there has been any attack detected. If it has not detected any attack, it will simply inform the Altion or send back the traffic to the Altion stating that there is no attack. You can forward it to the backend servers. Now, based on the load balancing metric that is configured on the Altion, Altion will select the relative server and it will forward the traffic to that particular server. And the server can then respond back. It can again be sent to the WAF. WAF will inspect the response traffic. If it is okay, it will get back to the Altion again, and the Altion can basically forward the traffic to the client again. So this is how the WAF functionality works in the larger scheme of solutions, which is data center protection. So WAF or Cloud WAF protects you against layer 7 kind of application layer attacks. It also protects you against API threats and vulnerabilities. So we have two protections, web attacks and also API related threats and vulnerabilities. Okay, if you want to learn more on this, there is a course for this as well, which is Cloud WAF. Okay, if you want to learn more on the cloud aspect of things, also integrated WAF. Okay, so these are the two courses which are available. So integrated WAF will be dealing more on the app wall plus Altion. Okay, app wall plus Altion. So we'll be learning that if you are enrolling into those courses. Next, we have, let's shift the focus back to Defense Pro. So Defense Pro is your DDoS protection device. Okay, so Defense Pro is the DDoS protection device. Now it is named as Defense Pro X, which you'll be looking here. Okay, so any layer 3, layer 4 attacks, volumetric attacks are mitigated by Defense Pro. And there are multiple protection modules within the Defense Pro that we'll be using in order to mitigate these attacks. So DOS protection will be using Defense Pro platforms. Next, we have cloud DDoS protection as well. Okay, so Defense Pro devices can be physical devices, or it could be virtual devices as well. Okay, so we have both options, physical devices as well as virtual devices. Okay. Under the cloud DDoS protection, we have all the virtual devices in the cloud. Okay. So it works something like this. So I'll just give you a simple example where you can deploy the cloud DDoS kind of a protection. Let's suppose we have a local Defense Pro. Okay, so we have a local Defense Pro within the organization. Okay, and then we have the backend servers and everything. So let's suppose we have the majority of the clients. Okay, and every Defense Pro has a certain mitigation capacity. So let's suppose the mitigation capacity of this particular Defense Pro device is 10 Gbps. Okay, this is the mitigation capacity. That means up to 10 Gbps, it can tackle all the attack traffic, and it will be able to send clean traffic to the backend servers or backend devices. Okay, so let's suppose the traffic is coming in from all the clients towards this Defense Pro. Okay, these are all legitimate clients. But let's suppose we have another client who is sending a large amount of volumetric traffic. Okay, now this is your attack traffic. Okay, so this is your attack traffic, a large number of volumetric attack, and this is basically a hacker, let's suppose. Okay, so large number of attack traffic is coming to the Defense Pro, and this traffic is greater than 10 Gbps. Okay, is greater than 10 Gbps. In that case, the DPX will start dropping the traffic. Okay, it will start dropping the traffic. It will also start dropping legitimate traffic as well, which is not what we need. Okay, every Defense Pro has a certain mitigation capacity. If it exceeds the mitigation capacity, we would be start dropping the traffic and will not be able to send the clean traffic back to the backend servers. In this case, what we can do, there is another approach. So instead of having just Defense Pro device within the organization, what we can do is use a hybrid model. Okay, we can use a hybrid model. What is hybrid model? Along with the Defense Pro locally, we can also have cloud DDoS. We can also have cloud DDoS subscription. So what this does is something like this. So when attack traffic is coming in, okay, it is exceeding 10 Gbps. In this case, what we do is that we divert the traffic to the cloud DDoS. If a mitigation capacity of a certain defense pro is exceeded, then what we do is we divert the traffic to the cloud device. Okay. So the same traffic that we are seeing here, after the threshold is breached, the traffic would be diverted to the cloud. Okay. So all the traffic would be diverted to the cloud. Now this cloud device has a higher mitigation capacity. Okay. It would be in terabits per second. Okay. It would be in terabits per second. That's the mitigation capacity of the cloud. So this 10 Gbps would be very small when it is compared to terabits of capacity. Okay. So this cloud DDoS network will clean the network. Okay. It will clean the traffic. This is the attack traffic. And after passing through the cloud DDoS, it will clean the traffic. And that clean traffic can be then sent to the local defense pro device. Okay. Or to your organization using GRE tunnels. Okay. Using GRE tunnels. So all this can be automated as well. Okay. So all this feature that you saw, it can be automated as well. So I just give you an example how we can use a hybrid solution wherein you can have a local defense pro device. Okay. It will tackle all the attacks up till its mitigation capacity, that is 10 Gbps. Okay. And this is not fixed. Okay. Mitigation capacity changes from device to device. So let's suppose Defense Pro X10 will have 10 Gbps of mitigation capacity. Defense Pro X20 will have 20 Gbps. So based on the DPX that you have purchased, it will have a appropriate mitigation capacity. What we are talking is something like this. So if the attack traffic is coming to the local Defense Pro, okay, up till the mitigation capacity of that local Defense Pro, we are okay. We can handle the traffic locally. But if that mitigation capacity is breached, in that situation, you can deploy a hybrid scenario wherein you can forward the incoming traffic to the cloud system. Okay. Then the cloud will basically clean the traffic and send the clean traffic to your local network. So that is your cloud DDoS protection. There are multiple deployment modes when it comes to cloud DDoS. You can deploy always on. Okay. You can deploy always on. That means it will basically forward the traffic all the time to the cloud DDoS. Okay, that means you do not need a local defense pro. If it is always on, the entire traffic will always be flowing via the cloud network and the cloud will basically clean the traffic. Otherwise, you can also use hybrid model, okay, wherein you can forward the traffic initially to the local defense pro to mitigate the attack. And if the threshold is exceeded, then you can divert the traffic to the cloud network and then it can send the clean traffic back to the local network. So that is your cloud DDoS protection, which can be used in addition as well as it can be used as a primary mitigation device. Okay, so that is cloud DDoS protection. Then we have the Defense Pro device itself, which I mentioned could be a physical device. It could be a virtual appliance as well. The throughput capacity is up till 800 Gbps depending on the device that you purchase. So as I mentioned, Defense Pro X10 will have 10 Gbps of mitigation capacity. Defense Pro X20 will have 20 Gbps. Similarly, Defense Pro X800 will have 800 Gbps of capacity or throughput. Okay. Then within the Defense Pro itself, we have a patented technology known as behavioral technology or behavioral DOS. Okay. It protects you against DOS kind of attacks, which we will be going in depth tomorrow, where we can learn how the new attacks can be mitigated. Let's suppose any new attack is coming to the Defense Pro. So Defense Pro will simply learn the attack, okay, based on what it has learned during peacetime. So it can learn a particular attack. It can detect whether an attack has been started. Based on whether an attack has started, it can create some signatures in real time, and that signatures can be attached to the attack traffic to mitigate that particular attack. Okay, so that would we will be covering in tomorrow's class, which is behavioral DOS technology, which is a patented technology from Radware. We can create a real-time signature within seconds of an attack being detected. So if an attack is detected, we can immediately create a signatures within 18 seconds, okay, and mitigate that attack completely. So that is your behavioral DOS engine, which we'll be covering in tomorrow's class. Then we have signature protections as well. So all the known attacks and vulnerabilities existing out there can be mitigated with the help of signature-based protection. Then we have SSL protection. So if it is encrypted kind of attacks, like HTTPS kind of attacks, we can also mitigate them as well. So HTTPS kind of attacks are a bit tricky to mitigate because they are encrypted. And first of all, you would have to decrypt the session and look into the attack. So it takes a lot of resources on the server side in order to tackle these kind of mitigation. Okay, but we have a technology known as keyless technology. Okay, we have a technology called keyless mitigation, wherein we do not decrypt this particular HTTPS, but still can know whether it is an attack or not. Okay, so in this keyless kind of mitigation, we do not need the certificates and the keys in order to do this mitigation. Okay, so this is a a new kind of mitigation solution from Radware, which is keyless mitigation, which helps save time. Okay, you do not need to manage the public certificates and the private keys in order to mitigate HTTPS kind of flooding attacks. Okay, this will be covering on level 2. Okay, more of this is covered in level 2. So if interested, you can enroll into the level 2 course wherein we'll be looking into the keyless mitigation. But other than that, on level 1, we are just introducing that we have the solution for you. Okay. There are multiple other ways as well, like along with keyless mitigation, we have first request SSL. We have first request SSL, wherein the incoming packet, only the first request of that encrypted session would be decrypted. Okay. For this, you require a certificate because we are decrypting the HTTPS packet. That means whenever an attack traffic comes in, the first request of the attack traffic would be decrypted and we'll be checking whether it is an attack or not. So that is first request SSL protection. Then we have full inspection. That means every request that we are getting from that particular attacker, we will be inspecting or we'll be decrypting the traffic and doing inspection on that. Okay, so this is SSL protection. Again, we will be covering this on level 2. So this is just an overview and how we can combine different solutions from Radware in order to protect our entire data center solution. Just a summary. Layer 7 can be mitigated with the help of AppFall, okay, or CloudWalk. On layer 3, layer 4, volumetric attacks. For volumetric attack detection and mitigation, we'll be using Defense Pro X devices. And for load balancing, we can make use of Altion device, which is from Radware again. And this app wall can be integrated with Altion, okay, wherein you can do load balancing as well as mitigate layer 7 kind of attack. So all this can be combined together to protect your data center solution. And all these devices can be controlled centrally using cyber controller device, okay, which is a centralized configuration and management system from Radware through which you can do all the configurations. Okay, you can check how your devices are performing. Okay, you can push certain configurations, you can push uploads, like you can upgrade the devices from the cyber controller itself. So it is a centralized solution which works on top of SNMP protocol in order to manage all these devices. Okay. So this was just a brief overview of our solution. So cyber controller, as you can see, is a centralized solution from Radware. Other than that, we also have a emergency response team. Okay, so they are working 24/7, or they are security experts who can assist you out with any issues that you're facing in your network. Okay, and they can help you out. So there are multiple fields within the ERT team. So they have emergency response team researchers who research on the latest attacks. Okay, security experts, then the team dedicated to mitigate your attacks. They can create their own policies if it's required to mitigate a certain attack. So all those are handled by the emergency response team. So let's look at evolution of a multi-vector attack protection. So how to combine different devices of Radware in order to protect against multi-vector attacks. Okay, so here you will have all the clients. Okay, this is the internet. This could be a router, and these are all the traffic that we are receiving. You could be receiving legitimate traffic. Along with that, you could also be receiving attack traffic. Okay. The first device that you'll have at the perimeter would be your Defense Pro device. So Defense Pro device would be present at the perimeter. All the incoming traffic would be coming here. Okay. So let's suppose again we take the same example, 10 Gbps of mitigation capacity. If the traffic that is receiving or the attack traffic that is coming in is below 10 Gbps, okay, then this local Defense Pro can certainly mitigate those attack traffic and only send out legitimate or clean traffic back to your backend devices. Okay. So if the attack traffic is below 10 Gbps, then the DPX will be able to clean that attack traffic and send only clean traffic back to the devices at the backend. So that's good. But now if this particular attack threshold is breached, or if this mitigation capacity is breached and we're getting large amount of volumetric traffic, let's suppose 20 Gbps, in that case, we will be diverting the traffic. Okay. We'll be diverting all the traffic which is coming from the clients, okay, towards a cloud scrubbing center. Towards a cloud scrubbing center. Scrubbing center is nothing but the cloud DDoS, okay, wherein we'll be forwarding the traffic to the cloud DDoS and it would be mitigating the attack. Okay. Now this is the attack traffic that we have diverted, and now we are getting clean traffic back from the cloud DDoS solution. And this clean traffic can then be sent here, and it can be sent to the DPX device. And again, it would be sent to the backend. DPX this time wouldn't be cleaning it again because the traffic is already coming as clean. So this DPX will not detect it as an attack. It will just simply forward the clean traffic to the backend. Okay. Now you would be thinking that how we divert this traffic to the cloud. Okay. How we divert this traffic to the cloud. This diversion is done with the help of Border Gateway Protocol or BGP. Okay. So this is done via BGP protocol. Okay. So we divert the traffic to the cloud scrubbing center using BGP, and the return traffic is sent via GRE tunnels. And the return traffic is sent via GRE tunnels. Okay. So this is what I had just shown you. So this defense messaging is nothing but informing the relative device that my threshold has been breached. Okay. So my mitigation capacity or whatever the threshold was set on the Defense Pro that has been breached. So now I am diverting the traffic to you. So kindly clean it and return it back to us. So that is what defense messaging means. So now the traffic would be diverted to the cloud and the clean traffic would be sent back to the local Defense Pro. So now this is the clean traffic that we are getting back. Okay. So this Defense Pro devices can protect you against SYN flood attacks. Okay. It can protect you against SYN flood attacks. It can protect you against scanning devices. So if there are scanning activity happening, that means any attacker is trying to learn what are the IP addresses behind the Defense Pro or what are the port which are open on the services which are behind here. So all the port numbers which are open on your servers or what are the IP addresses which are configured on the server. If there is scanning activity happening, the Defense Pro can also detect and mitigate those scanning activities as well. Okay. Then we are protecting you against low and slow loris kind of attacks, HTTPS floods, SSL floods, etc. Okay. So all this is mitigated by DPX. So all the volumetric stuff is mitigated by the DPX engine at the perimeter itself, and the layer 7 attacks would be mitigated here. And the layer 7 attack would be mitigated by the WAF engine. So WAF engine, what does it protect you against? It will protect you against SQL injection attacks, cross-site scripting, server-side request forgeries, brute force attacks, application misuse. So all the web-related attacks, okay, or API-related threats would be mitigated by the WAF engine. Okay. So this is how you can combine multiple solutions from Radware and place them at the respective positions to completely mitigate any kind of attacks which are coming towards your organization, be it layer 7, be it layer 3, be it layer 4. Okay. So all this would be mitigated by different solution. So Radware provides you multi-tiered solution to provide full protection from all kind of multi-vector threats and vulnerabilities. Coming to Defense Pro. So Defense Pro protection layers. So we have multiple protection modules through which we can protect you against threats. So first is behavioral protections. Okay. So now this is patented technology. This is patented technology from Radware, which we'll be learning tomorrow in depth. But right now I'll just show you that where all we will be using our patented behavioral technology. First of all, we have a behavioral DOS protection itself, okay, wherein we'll be mitigating all kind of flooding attacks. Okay, so there we'll be using behavioral protection. Also, the DNS protection makes use of BDOS. Okay, the DNS protection will also make use of BDOS. The anti-scanning engine will make use of BDOS. So anti-scanning will protect you against the scanning activity, which I just showcased you related to the learning of IP addresses and port numbers. Okay. So why does hackers make use of scanning? So with the help of scanning, they can come to know that which are the port numbers that are currently open on the backend, and based on that, they will craft their attacks to target those open ports. Okay, so that's where anti-scanning helps you, and BDOS engine uh, is used to protect you against those scanning activities. Behavioral engine is also used under HTTPS flood protection. Okay, so this is where you will use behavioral protection module. Next, we have challenge response mechanism. So challenge response works something like this. So let's suppose we have the client, okay, we have the Defense Pro device, and here we have a backend server. So I'll just give you a simple example. So we have a SYN packet coming in. Okay. The next response should be SYN-ACK, right? A three-way handshake, and we have a ACK response. So this is a normal scenario where we have a SYN packet sent from the client towards the server, a SYN-ACK sent in response, and the ACK response sent from the client towards the server, which basically finishes the three-way handshake. And then you can do SSL and then send out all the data. So this is the normal flow of traffic. Okay. So how to authenticate whether this particular SYN packet is coming from this source only and whether it is not spoofed. Okay. So what we do in this case is that whenever we get a SYN packet, okay, whenever we get a SYN packet during an attack, okay, during an attack, whenever we get a SYN packet, we send a challenge. We send a challenge to the client. And only if we receive a proper response, only if we receive a proper response from that particular client to which we send the challenge to, and only if we get the proper response here, at this particular point, we will be authenticating the client. We'll be authenticating that this is a legitimate client. Okay, so this is how challenge response works. So during an attack, we will be challenging every client, and if that client provides us with a relative response, then we will be authenticating that client that yes, you are a legitimate client. Then you can open a backend connection with the server. Okay. Until and unless we get this response, we will not be opening the backend connection with the server. Only if we get a response, we will open this backend connection. Okay. So it makes sure that there are no spoofing of IP addresses possible during SYN flood attacks. So challenge response mechanism would be used to protect against TCP SYN flood protection, okay, or SYN flood kind of attacks. Even DNS protection makes use of challenge response mechanism. So you'll be learning this tomorrow when we cover DNS protection, where we'll be covering name server challenge. Okay. Even at behavioral HTTPS flood protection will also make use of challenge response mechanism. Okay. So that's there. Now, all the things which are marked in asterisk would be covered on level 2. Okay. Then we have access control. Access control is your standard block list and allow list. Okay. So access control would be utilized at out of state protection, normal geolocation based traffic filters, connection control, and traffic filters. So these are the protection modules where access control or standard allow list and block list would be utilized in order to mitigate an attack. Then we have known vulnerabilities, tools, and attackers. Now, all these things would be mitigated by signature protection. Okay, if you see known vulnerabilities, be sure that it is your signature-based protection that you'll be using in order to mitigate those kind of attacks. Okay. Then you have threat intelligence feeds as well. Now, this is a new feature. Now, what this does is that you can check the IP addresses. Okay, all the IP addresses that you have noticed. Okay, within an attack, those can be put under the threat intelligence feed. Okay, what this function is something like this. Let's suppose we have seen that there is an attack coming from this particular IP address. You want to know whether it is an attack, whether this IP from which the attack is coming, whether they are already involved in multiple attacks worldwide, or whether the Radware has detected it early in some other location, let's suppose. Then you just simply copy that IP, put it under threat intelligence, and you will get all the details related to that particular IP. Okay, because we maintain a database of all the IP addresses worldwide. Okay, so based on their previous activity, okay, we collect those information, and you can just put that IP address in the threat intelligence feed, and you will get all the information related to that particular IP, where it is originated, okay, where it is coming from, or what is the criticality, whether we are classified it as an attack or we do not know something about that IP. So all those things would be showcased to you. You just have to copy that IP and paste it under threat intelligence feed. Okay, so that is your threat intelligence feed. Next, we move on to packet anomalies. So packet anomalies, now this protection is enabled by default. Okay, this protection is enabled by default on the Defense Pro devices. What this protects you is against anomalies. Okay, it will basically check whether the incoming traffic is according to the RFC. Okay, so request for comments. So any traffic that you're receiving at the defense flow, it will first check whether the packet is properly defined and it is as per the defined protocols. So if you are sending, if the client is sending some unrecognized layer 2 format, then we will blocking it. Okay. If the headers are inconsistent, so let's suppose I'll give you an example. Usually the header name and value are separated with the help of a colon, right? So you might have a header called user agent, okay, user agent, and it would be some values like Windows, let's suppose. Okay, so this is the name, header name, and this is the value, and it is always separated by a colon. Now let's suppose if you're receiving some traffic to the Defense Pro, okay, but this colon is not there, okay, and you're receiving a traffic something like this. Now in this case, it is not complying with the RFC, because in the RFC, it is clearly defined that the header name and value should be separated out with the help of colon, but here it is not present. In that case, we will be considering this as anomaly or non-compliant. So all those kind of requests, okay, would simply be dropped by the system. Okay, so any such traffic received at the Defense Pro level would be dropped by the Defense Pro. And these are all the things, all the examples that you can see. So if it's an invalid layer for header length, we'll be dropping it. Okay, invalid GRE header, drop, invalid incorrect GRE version, drop, etc. So here we have a list of packet anomalies. It is not just limited to this, okay? Because there are multiple other packet anomalies as well. We could not incorporate everything within the screenshot, and hence we have just showcased you for this example. But there are multiple other packet anomaly IDs and their name as well, which basically describes what it is protecting against. Okay, and this is enabled by default. Now let's look at the Defense Pro supported platforms and licensing. So this is the Defense Pro X new lineup that we have. So we have these models: Defense Pro X10, X20, X40, X80, 100, 200, 400, and 800. So these are all the physical devices that we have when it comes to Defense Pro. Important things is the mitigation capacity. Okay, so this mitigation bandwidth is fixed. Okay, it cannot be upgraded. Okay, it is fixed. So whatever device you buy, the mitigation capacity would be fixed. So if you are purchasing Defense Pro X10, then the mitigation bandwidth would be 10 gigabits. If it is 20, it would be 20 gig. For 40, 40, and for 80, 80, and etc. Okay, as you can see. So this mitigation bandwidth would be fixed. Then we have legitimate bandwidth. So this is your actual throughput. So this is your actual throughput. Okay. So this can be upgraded. So for the X10 model, these are the options available to you. Okay. Initially, you can purchase 500 megabits of legitimate throughput. Okay. Then if you feel that your organization has grown in size and you're receiving a lot of legit traffic, okay, then the legitimate traffic you might have to increase at a later stage, then you can increase up to 5 Gbps. Okay. And this is upgradable. And this is upgradable and it is license based. So you simply have to upgrade the license and you'll be getting a higher throughput capacity. So mitigation bandwidth is fixed while the legitimate bandwidth can be upgradable, which is license based. And make sure you see these values. Okay. So initially you can start with 500 meg and then you can upgrade all the way to 5G. But when it comes to X20, you can start with 5G and the maximum possible is 10G. You cannot have more than this max value, okay, for the individual devices. So first of all, what we recommend is that you calculate the legitimate traffic that you have within your organization and based on that, select the respective device accordingly. Okay. So that's there. Also, we have Defense Pro VA platforms. So Defense Pro VA is your virtual platform. So it is software based. The mitigation bandwidth is up till 100 gig and the legit bandwidth is up to 50 gigabits. So this can be deployed on cloud as well as on your hypervisors and also on the public clouds like AWS, etc. Okay. So these are your Defense Pro X lineups. They also have dedicated SSL cards as well. So they also have dedicated SSL cards, which can basically do the SSL protection in real time. So these are all the Defense Pro X new lineup available to you. So how to calculate the legitimate throughput? So legitimate traffic is calculated only on egress ports. Okay. So important, legitimate traffic is only calculated on the egress traffic. Okay. So it is calculated only on egress port. Okay. So here, all the traffic which is not dropped, okay, would be classified as a legitimate traffic. Okay. So I'll just give you an example so that you can understand it better. So this is a Defense Pro device. Let's suppose this is the incoming port. Okay. And this is the outgoing port. Okay. So this is the incoming port and this is the outgoing port. Okay. Or the egress port. I'll just label it. So this is egress and this is ingress. Okay. So the calculation would be on the egress port. Okay. So let's suppose we are receiving 40 Gbps of traffic. The Defense Pro inspects this 40 Gbps of traffic and let's suppose 10 Gbps of traffic is dropped. Okay. 10 Gbps of traffic is dropped. Okay. So now we have 40 minus 10, which is 30, which is exiting out of this particular egress port. Okay. Then that 30 Gbps of traffic would be considered as legitimate traffic. That means any traffic which is not dropped. Any traffic which is not dropped would be classified as legit traffic. So now we have 30 Gbps under legit traffic. And now we'll be calculating this in both the directions. So this was direction 1 from this port to this port. We'll also be calculating in the opposite direction as well. So we'll be calculating this in the opposite direction as well. Okay. So now 20 Gbps is coming from server side and the entire 20 Gbps is sent out. Okay. The entire 20 Gbps is sent out. Okay. We have not dropped anything. So the entire 20 Gbps of traffic would be considered under legit traffic. Okay. So now we combine them and the total legit traffic would be 50 Gbps. Okay. So total legit traffic is 50 Gbps. This is how you calculate the amount of legit traffic that you are having within your organization. And based on that, you can basically select the relevant throughput capacity on the Defense Pro. So this is when you are using this as a inspection device. So this is when you're using the Defense Pro in inspection mode. Okay. Now, if you use the Defense Pro as a forwarder, If you're using the Defense Pro as a forwarder device, okay, in that case, since we are not inspecting anything, okay, so in this particular mode, in this forwarding mode, the Defense Pro does not do any inspection. Okay, we are not doing any inspection. Okay, we are just simply forwarding whatever traffic that we are getting out of egress ports. So we are not doing any inspection, we are not dropping any traffic. In that case, we will not consider this traffic as a legitimate traffic. Okay, so if you're using this as a forward mode, that means the Defense Pro port just acts like a bridge. We are not inspecting, we are not dropping. And in that case, the legit traffic would be 0. Okay, we will not be categorizing that as a legitimate traffic. So this is how you basically classify the legitimate traffic and whether it is not. Next, we have the licensing model. So it looks something like this. So you might see something like this. In this case, the X, after X, whatever value you have first is your mitigation capacity. Okay. And this is your legitimate throughput. Okay. Similarly, 40 Gbps would be your mitigation capacity and 10 Gbps would be your legitimate throughput. So this is how you basically read a licensing schema of Defense. Then we have subscriptions. So the base license, so Defense Pro X comes with the base license, which includes all these features. So please note that this was before 10.5 version of the Defense Pro. So before 10.5 version of the Defense Pro, DNS flood was part of the base license. Okay. DNS flood protection was part of the base license. But now, after 10.5, DNS is not part of it. So if you have to protect DNS servers, you need to have the app protection, because now the DNS has been moved to app protection subscription. Okay, along with the base license, you will now need application protection subscription. Okay, and these are the subscription models. Okay, you can subscribe to either app protection, silver protection, or gold protection based on the requirements. Application protection is the one which is preferred, because under the application subscription, you will have these things. You can have DNS protection, you can have HTTPS protection, SSL protection, uh, TLS protection, and all those things. So if you need to do decryption, okay, if you want to do decryption, so all those things would be part of application protection subscription. Okay, and primarily DNS as well. So if your organization needs to decrypt anything in order to inspect and then take actions, then application protection subscription is the one that you need. Then we have silver protection. So silver protection gives you these features. We have security update subscription, okay, which basically provides you security updates weekly. So if we detect certain attacks, if we get, it is used to protect against known vulnerabilities, okay. So let's suppose we come to know of any attack within a server or so globally, then we design a signature and that signature is passed on to our customers. Okay. And if you're subscribed to this security update subscription feature, then we'll be supplying the signature to you as well periodically in order to mitigate or make sure that you're safe against those kind of known attacks. So that is security update subscription. Next, we have ERT active attackers feed, okay, which is also termed like this, okay, which is ERT active attackers feed. Now, what is this ERT active attackers feed? So since you know that Radware is a global entity, we have multiple honeypot deception agents deployed worldwide, okay, across geographic locations. And these particular honeypot deception agents, they detect attacks which are launched by malicious attackers. So when the hackers or attackers see this honeypot deception agents, they feel that these are legitimate servers that we can attack, and they launch attacks against these servers. And what we do is that we detect these attacks. Okay, we get to know what traffic they are sending. Okay, what is the source IP addresses, where it is coming from which geographic location are the attacks originating. So all those data are collected, they're analyzed. Okay, it is not that we are not immediately classifying those as malicious attackers. We take our time, we classify the attacks, we pass it through AI models, we learn about the attacker's behavior over time, and then we create a database of all the malicious attackers IP list. So ERT active attackers feed is nothing but a list of all the malicious attackers globally. Okay, there is an IP database, and this IP database is provided to the customers. And once this is uploaded onto the device, now let's suppose any attack is originating from these IP addresses and it is coming towards your organization, those attacks would be immediately be blocked by the Defense Pro device. So that is your ERT active attackers feed. Okay. Next, we have location-based mitigation, which is also part of silver protection. So here we'll be basically doing mitigation at a country level. So let's suppose if you want to block traffic originating from a certain country, then you can put that country in the blacklist. Okay. So if let's suppose any traffic is originating from North Korea, then all the traffic originating from North Korea would be mitigated by the location-based mitigation service. So this is under silver protection. Next, we have gold protection. So all the features which are part of the silver protection would also be available. In addition, we also have under attack service. Okay. So under attack service, so if there is an attack and you're not able to completely mitigate it, then you can reach out to the ERT team. ERT team can work on it in real time. Okay. They can assist you during an attack. Uh, they can create custom policies in order to mitigate that particular attack in near real time, and they will be cooperating with you throughout the attack. Okay. Also, they will be sending you out reports why the attack was detected and why it was not mitigated, etc., etc. So that is your ERT under attack service. So this is how the licensing looks like. So if you have a base license, it would show as essential. But if you have any other license, let's suppose application protection license, it will show you like this. Defense Pro application protection. This is the license start date and this is the license end date. Okay. Now after the end date, let's suppose you forgot to upgrade it. So the application license would be downgraded to the base license 14 days before the end date. So let's suppose the date is approaching, 1st December is approaching. 14 days before, you will start getting notifications on the syslog, on the CLI, that the license is about to expire, kindly upgrade it. So you will be getting continuous notifications on the CLI that the license is about to expire, kindly upgrade it at the earliest. So all these things can be visible. So ERT under attack service, security protections, you get a 10-minute SLA. They are available 24/7. They also give post-event analysis, as I mentioned, how the attack was not mitigated, or what are the features that you can enable. Okay, what are the protection modules that could be enabled in case the attack reappears, etc. So ERT under attack service is there. And there is another feature called ERT fully managed service. By this, what we are saying is that let's suppose your team is not large enough to, let's suppose, manage and configure all the protection modules and everything. You can outsource this activity to a Radware expert. So they will be handling all the configurations, all the mitigations, all the management, etc. So we have that feature as well, which is known as ERT fully managed service, which is basically fully outsourcing monitoring and management to the Radware team. Next is Defense Pro plus Cyber Controller. So one important thing to know about Defense Pro is that Defense Pro does not have its own web GUI. Okay. So it does not have its own web GUI. Let's suppose if you have just the Defense Pro device and you connect the LAN cable to the Defense Pro and try to open uh, a browser and put in the IP address of that particular Defense Pro device, the web GUI will not be shown on that browser because it does not have a web GUI of its own. So in order to work with web GUI of the Defense Pro, you will require a cyber controller. Okay. So via cyber controller, you can open the web GUI of the Defense Pro. Okay. But if you directly connect a cable to the Defense Pro, it will not work. You have to go via cyber controller. So Defense Pro plus cyber controller is what you need in order to make things easy. Okay. So cyber controller is mandatory in order to manage Defense Pro X devices via the GUI method. So Cyber Controller is your centralized management system from Radware. Earlier, it used to be known as Vision. So earlier, Cyber Controller used to be called as Vision, as you can see. Okay, but now it has been renamed to Cyber Controller. And earlier, every feature used to have a separate VM. Okay, so like if you want to work with MSSP portal, you had a separate VM. If you had to make use of defense flow feature, then again you needed a separate VM. Okay, so every other feature needed to have a separate VM. So it was getting difficult to manage all the VMs together, and that's where we unified them into a single solution. Okay, so now all these VMs, okay, you do not need to manage it separately. We are combining them into a single virtual machine, which is known as Cyber Controller. Okay, so we have merged all of them into a single solution known as Cyber Controller. And if you want to enable, let's suppose this feature, then you just need to enable the license for that virtual machine, which you can do it later stage as well. Okay, so that is how we have made things easy, at least on the VM front. Okay, and Cyber Controller is a centralized system through which you can configure, you can manage, okay, you can monitor the devices, and even you can also let's suppose schedule certain tasks as well, like upgrading a certain device at a particular time and date. Okay, let's suppose downloading the database, signature protection, etc., which we'll be covering today at a later stage. Okay, but these are the devices that are manageable via Cyber Controller. There are 3 licensing schemes when it comes to Cyber Controller. So first we have Cyber Controller Standard Plan, Cyber Controller X license, and Cyber Controller Plus license. Okay, so Cyber Controller Standard are used to manage and configure legacy Defense Pro platforms. Okay, so what is legacy Defense Pro? So now the Defense Pro, the current existing Defense Pro are Defense Pro version or version X. Okay, Defense Pro X. The earlier Defense Pro platforms were known as version 8. Okay, Defense Pro version 8 was our legacy Defense Pro platforms. So if you want to manage those devices, those Defense Pro devices, Altion and Apple's, your standard license is good enough. You can manage and configure those things. But if you have a Defense Pro X device, the newly launched Defense Pro X device, then you require a Cyber Controller X license, because we have certain dashboards which we have newly added on the Cyber Controller, and those are accessible only via Cyber Controller X license. Okay, so Cyber Controller X is dedicated for Defense Pro X platforms, but it is not like if you have a Cyber Controller X, you cannot manage the older devices. It is not the case. We are just saying that if we have the new device, it is better to have Cyber Controller X license with you, because we have added the new dashboards, new schema, new policy editor page, which is best if you have Defense Pro X platforms. So this is what you need to have. Next, we have Cyber Controller Plus license. Now, this is useful for out of path kind of solutions, primarily related to diversion. If you want to automate stuff, like if you want to automate diversion, you want to automate diversion, mitigation, etc., then you need a Cyber Controller Plus license. So there is a dedicated course on this as well, which is known as Cyber Controller Plus. Okay, so there you need to basically do the, or you need to purchase the Cyber Controller. Just give me a sec. Uh, so there you will require the Cyber Controller Plus license. Okay. This is the page that has been newly added on the Cyber Controller X. Okay, so if you go to the security events or this particular tab, you will find this particular page wherein it will show you whether the device is, whether your protected object is under attack or not. Okay, so right now there is no attack, and hence it is showing under peacetime. You can see the current traffic that it is receiving. Okay, so this is the current traffic that you're receiving, and it is not an attack. Nothing is getting dropped right now. Okay, no traffic has been challenged. So if you have a challenge response kind of a solution, it will show here as challenged package. Okay, and this is what you're protecting. Okay. This is the total bandwidth that you're receiving and everything. And if there was an attack, those attacks would be detected here. If an attack is detected, those attacks would be detected here. Okay, something like this. So now you can see that the organization is under attack, and this is the policy which has been triggered. Okay, here you face an attack and it is showing in red. As you can see, this is the received traffic and this is the drop traffic. Okay, so this much amount of traffic has been dropped by the system. This is the detection events. And these are all the attack traffic which is dropped, okay? Not the legitimate traffic. This is the attack traffic that has been dropped. So now, once there is an attack, those attack detection events would be showing here. So it shows what action is the defense pro taking. The action is to drop the attack traffic. And it will also show whether the attack is ongoing or whether the attack has terminated. Okay. So which category or which protection module has detected that attack? So here, the attack was detected by behavioral DOS engine. And it is a network flooding kind of an attack, okay, based on IPv4. This particular tab shows you which IP address is being targeted. So this is the targeted IP address. Okay. What is the duration of the attack? So attack has started from the last 1 minute or so. This is the policy which was triggered. So this is the policy which was triggered. Okay. If we have, since cyber controller manages multiple defense pro devices, this defense pro name basically provides you information that which defense pro was targeted or which server was targeted behind which defense pro. Okay. So if you have multiple defense pro, this tab shows you which defense pro is the affected one among multiple other defense pro devices. Now here you can see a magnifying glass, right? Clicking on this will give you more information related to the attack itself. Okay. So it will give you information like this is a BDOS UDP kind of an attack. Okay. So it is UDP traffic. And this is the real-time signature which is used to mitigate the attack. Okay. Now this is a real-time signature which was created in order to mitigate an attack. Okay. So all these details you can see when you click on the magnifying glass button. Even you can click on this, okay, and a packet capture file would be generated, which you can open on the Wireshark to see the actual traffic flow, like from which IP to which IP, okay, what are the layer 3 content, what are the layer 7 content, etc. And this can be visualized on the Wireshark. Okay. So all these things are possible with the help of Cyber Controller X license. Okay. You need to have Cyber Controller X license for Defense Pro X devices. Okay. So with that, we conclude the first presentation for the day, which was related to an introductory part on the Defense Pro. Okay. Any questions up till here?
Yeah, hello.
Yes, who's this?
Yeah, I just have a question. I'm new to the solution. I don't know if I need to have like a background in defense flow and other solutions to understand this one, or they are not necessary.
This is a level 1 course, so it would not be required. Okay. So this was just an introductory part. It would not be required as such. No.
Okay, I see. And for the defense flow, defense flow, will it be covered in this course, or there's like a dedicated course for it?
Defense flow, if you're talking about, it is a separate course altogether. Okay. So it
Okay.
is part of the Cyber Controller Plus course. Okay.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
It is a separate course altogether. So that we are not covering in this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Any other questions beside this? So if not, let's take a 15 minutes break and then we can resume with the rest of the presentations. Okay. It's been a long presentation, I know. So let's take a 15 minutes break, refresh yourself, and then we can resume with the rest of the session. Thank you. So let's resume. So welcome back everyone again. So the next topic is hardware connectivity. So you'll be describing the hardware ports of Defense Pro X devices. So what are the ports available? What are the capacities? What is the bandwidth that can be configured per port, etc. So we'll be looking into those details when it comes to hardware connectivity part. So you will be describing Defense Pro's Radware interfaces and how they work. Uh, what is bypass? So there's another feature known as bypass. So whether it's an internal bypass or whether it's external bypass, so we'll be learning those concepts as well. And the Defense Pro ports work in port pairs. Okay, so how to configure them? What are the things that you need to be aware of while doing all those configurations? Are the topics for this particular presentation. So let's start with hardware interfaces. So Defense Pro physical ports look something like this. Yep. So all the ports which you see on the left are your data ports. Okay. So all these ports, okay. So all these ports which are highlighted here. So these can be called as your data ports. Okay. Or you can also say as inspection ports. So only the traffic that you're receiving on these data ports would be inspected against the protection modules on the Defense Pro. So these are your data ports or your inspection ports, okay? And only the data received on these ports would be inspected by the Defense Pro. These are all your management ports, okay? So these are your management ports along with the console, okay? So these are management ports along with the console port. So this is your console, these are your management ports, and multiple IP addresses can be configured on a management port. The data which is received on the management port are not inspected by the Defense Pro, which is important. This is your power button and this is your USB for taking backups and stuff. Okay. So this is how overall a Defense Pro device looks like. Now related to the ports, it could have fiber ports. Okay, it could have fiber ports or it could have copper ports as well, depending on which Defense Pro device you purchase. Okay. And again, so here, these are open ports. You need to insert a transceiver and then plug in the appropriate cable, which is self-explanatory. But this is how the layout looks like for the Defense Pro devices. So all the highlighted in blue are your management ports, okay, used for configuration, maintenance, reporting, event notification, etc. Then we have your inspection ports, which are highlighted in orange. So these are your inspection ports. They could be fiber optic or it could be your copper ports as well. Okay, depending on the platform that you purchase. The data received on the inspection ports are scanned. Okay, so only these ports would be scanning the traffic for any attack. So make sure that the incoming traffic would be passed via these ports and not via management ports. Okay. Let's look at the port capacity now. So the X400, X800. So these are the port capacity. So we have 4 ports of 400 gig and we have 18 ports. So these are your 18 ports, okay, which are of 100 gig capacity. Then we have X40, X80. We have 6 ports of 40 Gbps. So these 6 ports of 40 Gbps and 12 ports of 10 Gbps capacity. This is X10, X20. So only X10 and X20 are modular based. Okay. Only X10 and X20 are modular based. Rest every device are fixed ports. Okay. Rest every device, be it X400, X800, X40, X80. Okay. They are all having fixed ports. That means you cannot remove this port and insert a new module. Okay. So all these are fixed. Only the X10, X20 have pluggable modules or are modular based Defense Pro devices. That means this particular Defense Pro devices has been divided into modular sections. So this is the first section. Okay. This is the second section, the third section, and the fourth section. And these sections are known as bays. Okay. So we have bay 1, bay 2, bay 3, and bay 4. Okay. So what this means is that, let's suppose if you have 4 fiber ports and you want to replace them. Okay, you want to replace them with some other module. Then you just simply remove the screw, pull out this module. Okay. Then let's suppose select some other module. Okay. And then just insert it in the slot and then screw it back again. So this is how modular ports work. Okay, you can simply remove the base and insert it with what you require. So this give you flexibility in choosing the ports, okay, for inspection. Like let's suppose if you do not want fiber ports, you can replace them and use copper ports. And if you do not require copper ports, then remove them and insert fiber ports, etc. Okay, so all those things can be done with the help of these pluggable sections. Okay, and but X10 X20 is the only model that supports pluggable modules. Okay, and these are all the available pluggable modules which are defined here. So if you see, one more thing is these. So these are the modules that can be inserted. In this, you do not require transceivers. Okay, in these modules, you do not require transceivers because already there is slots available. You can simply just plug in the cable and it should be good enough. But if you consider this, you need to first of all insert a transceiver and then plug the cables. Okay. But since already the connectors are predefined, you do not require a transceiver to be connected. Just plug in the cable and that should be done. These are all the modules that are available that you can purchase. So this is your module with 1G. So there are 8 ports. So there are 8 ports. This is copper based. Okay. So we have 8 ports of copper and each copper port can support 1 Gbps of capacity. Okay. And these are pluggable on port number 3 and 4. Also, one more important thing, the high speed ports are your ports 1 and 2. Okay. So the high speed ports are your port 1 and 2. Okay, so most likely you will find all the fiber based ports on port number 1 and 2 and all the copper ports and 3 and 4. Okay, so make sure you follow that scheme for better utilization. One more thing is this. So if you find within a module, you find this BP, then it's basically means that that particular module supports bypass. That means it supports bypass functionality, as you can see here. So bypass option. Okay, if you see BP within that particular name, then it means that it supports bypass functionality. And these are the connector types. Okay, so this what you see here. So those are the connectors and those are LC based connectors. LC stands for Lucent and it is a connector scheme in the fiber world. Okay, so these are some of the things that you need to be aware of. So Defense Pro, there's also console port available. So initial configuration of the Defense Pro, once you purchase, there would be no configuration. So initial configurations like setting up the IP addresses and stuff would be done via the serial console port. You just need to insert a console cable and connect the other end to your PC. Just configure the IP addresses and stuff, and you should be good to go. Okay, so this is where your console port comes in. Then we have management ports. Management ports is where you will configure IP addresses, okay, from where you can manage the devices. And usually there is no GUI. In order to access the GUI, you need to connect to a cyber controller. One more thing, data traffic which is received on a management port would be discarded. So that's important. Then we have USB ports. So USB ports is used for recovery or for taking backups. So Defense Pro USB ports are used for recovery functionality. This is an important slide related to inspection ports. So inspection ports are your data ports, okay? So they can operate in these two modes, okay? One is your transparent mode and second is the IP mode. If the inspection port is configured in transparent mode, that means we do not have an IP address on the particular ports, okay? So suppose this is a Defense Pro device, okay? And we have two ports, okay? And here we have some other device, let's suppose, and these are connected. In that case, we are not configuring IP addresses on these ports, okay, when it is under transparent mode. Okay, so inspection ports are working in port pairs. So inspection ports, they work in port pairs. So I'll just give you an example. So this is, let's suppose, firewall, and this suppose is the backend server. This is the port pair. Okay, this is port number 1, port number 2. So these port pairs are always linked together. Okay, so these port pairs are always linked together. That means the traffic which is coming on port 1 will always go to port 2 and the traffic which is coming on port 2 will always go to port 1. Now, if let's suppose there are multiple other ports as well, like 3 and 4, okay, in this case, it will not be like this. Okay. The flow would always be between the designated ports. That means port 1 to port 2, okay, port 1 to port 2 and port 2 to port 1. It will not be like port 1 to port 3 or port 3 to port 1. That will not happen ever. It will always be between the port pairs, okay. And the port pair schema is already defined within the Defense Pro devices. Like 1 is associated with 2, okay. That simply means the reverse is also true. That means 2 is associated with 1, okay. 3 is associated with 4, 4 is associated with 3, okay. 5 is associated with 6, 6 is associated with 5, etc. So this is the predefined port pairs, okay. So this is your predefined port pair, and it is not recommended to change this because it leads to confusion, okay. But if you want to change it, that is also possible, okay. So under the transparent mode, the Defense Pro works in port pairs, which is very important. So Defense Pro works in port pairs, okay. And when implemented, this acts as just a smart wire. So what is smart wire? As I mentioned, so if there is a connection like this, port number 1 and port number 2, it simply means that all the traffic would always be routed via this path. Okay, that means it simply is acting as a wire between the two servers or the two services. Okay. And during that, it also inspects stuff, and hence it is known as a smart wire. So that is your transparent mode. Second, we have IP mode. So inspection ports can be configured with an IP address. So if you want to configure IP address on the ports, then IP mode is the one that you need to have. IP mode is generally used for routing. So like in, let's suppose, asymmetric environments, you would require IP mode, but it is symmetric. If it is symmetric environment, that means the Defense Pro lies between the firewall and the server. In that case, just use transparent mode. That should be good enough. Okay. Defense Pro architecture. So this is how the architecture looks like. So this is the incoming traffic flow. Okay. So first of all, it goes via the hardware platform, which is the DOS mitigation engine. So this is DME, or the DOS mitigation engine. This is basically your hardware platform. And these are your flow engines, DPE, which is software based. Okay. So we have multiple DPE engines and DME. So once the traffic reaches the DOS mitigation engine, it will evaluate it. Okay. And will basically forward the traffic equally or in equal proportion. So let's suppose if the 100% traffic is being received, and let's suppose there are just 4 DPE engines. In that case, the traffic distribution would be 25, 25, 25, and 25. So there would be an equal distribution or an effort made to make the traffic evenly distributed to all the DPE engines, or the or basically your core platforms, or the CPU platforms. Okay, so CPU can also mitigate, hardware can also mitigate, but if the hardware is there, it will mitigate what it is handling, and if it is not able to mitigate it, it will forward it to the CPUs. CPUs, the traffic which is received at the CPUs would be in equal proportion, or the device will try its maximum effort that the traffic is evenly distributed. Then we have external bypass. So first of all, we need to understand what is bypass. Okay. So I'll just try to explain this. So let's suppose this is a router. This is your bypass switch, and this is your firewall. So this is basically your local area network. Okay. So here the traffic flows something like this. So we have a Defense Pro device which is sitting in between. Okay. It will basically inspecting the traffic. So what bypass switch does is something like this. I'll just give you. So where we have Defense Pro connected, we have bypass switch connected as well. So the client traffic is coming in this direction. Okay. It reaches the bypass switch. Bypass switch forwards it to the Defense Pro. Okay. Defense Pro inspects this traffic. Okay. And it will forward the traffic via this direction. It reaches bypass switch, and the bypass switch forwards it to the firewall, and then it can reach our backend servers. So this is the traffic flow. It flows in this path. Okay. It flows in this particular path. Now, let's suppose the Defense Pro port goes down for some reason. Okay. If the port goes down for some reason, In this case, what might happen? The router comes in, the client comes in, it reaches here, okay? But here, we find that the defense flow port itself is down. So in this case, defense flow will not be able to send the traffic via this direction, right? That means we will not have this traffic. That means we are simply stopped communication with the backend servers. That means the client is not able to reach the backend server at all because this port is down. Okay, or there is some issue in that particular link. So there is no communication from the clients towards the backend server, which is sitting here. Okay, there is no communication happening. Right? This is not something that we want to happen, right? Because we want to always have to establish business continuity. So it is, even if there is an attack, we still want to have that connectivity to the backend server. We do not want the clients to, or all the legit clients to not have connection to the server. So this is not something that we require, and hence we include a bypass switch. Now the role of bypass switch is this. So suppose the client request comes in, it reaches the switch, okay. It sees that this port is down. So in that case, if it senses that you're not able to receive the traffic, what it simply does is that it bypasses the defense pro. Okay, so it just bypasses the defense pro and forwards it directly. Okay, so it forwards it directly to the backend. Okay, so in case if there is any issue with the defense pro or whether these two links are down for some reason, okay, in that case, it will just bypass the defense pro and forward the client traffic directly to the backend server. Okay, but if in case the defense pro is up, the traffic flow would be like this. Okay, the traffic flow would be like this. But if the defense pro is down, the traffic flow would be like this, as shown. Okay, so that's the role of bypass switches. Okay, so most of the devices have external bypass. That means this bypass switch is connected externally to the defense pro. So hence they are known as external bypass. The Radware offers external bypass switches, which is based on Niagara 3808E platform. Okay, it is customized firmware. Okay, and only certified transceivers are supported, and the transceiver should be of these modules or these capacity. Okay, so these are all the things that you need to be aware of the bypass switches. Defense Pro X10, X20 have internal bypass. Okay, so Defense Pro X10, X20 have internal bypass. The other models, X20, sorry, not X20, X40, X80, the other 200, 400, 800 would require an external bypass. Okay, so if the Defense Pro is down, the traffic flow would be like this. Okay. So I'll just explain with this as well. Okay, so this is how the bypass switch looks like. So we have two segments, one which is connected to the Defense Pro and one which is connected to the network. So just from the previous example, we have router and firewall and Defense Pro, right? So that's exactly what we are doing here. We have the Defense Pro. Network means router and firewall. Okay. So I'll try to draw it here to make it easy for you to understand. So here we will have the ISP router, and let's suppose here we have firewall. Okay. This particular segment is connected here. Okay. And this particular port 8 is connected to the firewall. Here we have Defense Pro. Okay. Defense Pro also we had two ports, right? From the background, we have two ports, right? At the Defense Pro. The same we'll be doing here. The first port is connected at this end. Okay. And the second port is connected at this end. So let's see how the traffic flows now. Okay. So this is the ISP router. So the incoming traffic comes here, right? It will be on port number 7, right? If the Defense Pro is working properly, the flow would go like here to port number 3. Then it will go here at this particular port. It will exit out of this port after inspection. It will reach on port 4, and from port 4 it will go to port 8, and from port 8 it will go to firewall, and from the firewall to the backend server. So the flow is something like this. It will flow in this pattern. Okay, it will flow in this particular pattern. So this is how the flow looks like in normal situation where everything is working properly. Okay, that means the Defense Pro ports are up. In that case, that is the flow. But what if the Defense Pro ports are down? If these ports are down, let's suppose in that case, the client traffic will come here. okay, it sees that the defense flow port is down and we are not receiving any traffic, it will simply take this path instead. Okay, it will flow from port 7 to port 8 directly. It will not take this path. It will simply take the path of port number 7 to port number 8 and it will flow to the backend server. Okay, so this is how the connection works, okay, or how the external bypass switch works. So on this particular segment, we will be connecting the Defense Pro devices, and on this part, we will be connecting your network devices, be it your router or the firewall. Uh, these are also the options. So these are the network segments. Okay, ISP, router, firewall, ISP, router, firewall. There can be multiple devices. Okay, so this is for ISP router 1, firewall 1, or let's suppose ISP router 2, firewall 2, 1, 1, 2, and 2. So this is how it works. Okay, so you can play around with the multiple options as well. So this is something that you need to look into. Next, coming to port pairs. As I mentioned, if you are in transparent mode, the Defense Pro works in port pairs. So the adjacent ports are basically your port pairs. So inbound and outbound. So they work in port pairs. It means that if it is coming on this port, it will exit out this port. If it is coming on this port, it will exit out this port. It will not happen that the incoming port is here and the outgoing port is here. Okay, it will not happen because the devices or the ports are configured in port pairs by default. Okay. This is what I was talking about. So if you go to the Defense Pro, go to setup, networking, and port pairs. Okay, you will see this. You have an association between them, right? So this is what is important when it comes to port pairing. And these are predefined port pairs. So one is configured with 2, 2 is configured with 1, 3 to 4, 4 to 3, 5 to 6, 6 to 5, etc. Okay, so these are predefined configured ports. This you can change, but it is not recommended to change. It is recommended to keep these port sections as it is. There might be requirement to change because let's suppose initially you did not know about this and you simply plugged in the ports, okay, and then you do not want to remove the cables and then reconfigure all the cables again, right? So if that's the situation, then you can change the port pairs, but it is not recommended because there might lead to confusion. But stick to what it is recommended. Keep the port pairs as it is and then do the connections accordingly. Okay. So this is one thing that you need to be aware of. Okay. Also, one more thing, the source port, the incoming traffic flow. Let's suppose the ISP router traffic flow is this. It is coming on port 1 and it is exiting out port 2. In that case, 1 should be the input, right? 1 should be the inbound and 2 should be the destination, right? So that's what you need to define here as well. Okay. So source would be this direction and the outbound should be, let's suppose, this direction from 2 to 1 should be the destination. It is important because why? Because on the cyber controller, it will show the statistics based on what you configure here. Okay, based on what you configure here, it will show you on the cyber controller statistics. Okay. So it's something like this. So let's suppose the incoming port is this, port 1 to port 2. So this is the source of incoming direction. So this is your source. It is coming via port 1, it is going to port 2. Okay. So this is your source, right? And the reverse direction, that is outbound 2 to 1, receiving on port 2 and going out of port 1 is your destination, right? The reason or outbound, let's suppose ignores destination. Let's consider outbound and inbound to make it easy. Okay. Inbound and outbound. So this is your inbound traffic and this is your outbound traffic. The reason why I'm telling you this is because let's suppose you configured this as destination. Okay. So let's suppose you configured this as destination and this as source. What happens now is that it will work properly. Okay. The ports would inspect itself and it would rest everything would work properly. But on the cyber controller, when you check the statistics, you will have something like this shown on the graph. Okay. This would be considered outbound and this would be considered inbound because you have configured it here differently, right? So the cyber controller will always show what is configured here, and you do not want that confusion to happen. That's why make sure that the incoming traffic is defined as source and the outgoing traffic is configured as destination. So that's why this part is important. Otherwise, on the graph, the inbound data which you see would actually be the outbound data. Okay. So there might be confusion that you might face. So make sure that this is configured correctly. Then there is port grouping as well. So what is port grouping? So as you know, the Defense Pro works in port pairs, and if one port goes down, there is literally the other port should also go down, right? Because there is no point that if one port is goes down, it will not flow via some other port, right? Because you're working in port pairs. So if it's coming on port 1, it will always go on port 2. So port grouping, what it does, if it senses that the port 1 is gone down, port 2 automatically goes down as well. It does not wait for the admin to, I mean, close down the port manually. As soon as the port 1 goes down, the port 2 automatically shuts down as well, sensing that port 1 is down. And this is done via enable interface grouping. Okay, so it automatically turns down the port. Same thing goes here. Then we have port link aggregation. So we have two options here, without aggregation and with aggregation. I'll explain the difference. Okay. When we're considering without aggregation, okay, that means we are doing negotiation between the two switches. Okay. So the LACP, link aggregation protocol, control protocol, negotiation packets are done by the two switches. And the Defense Pro, which is sitting in between, is just acting as a bridge. Okay. It will not take part in the negotiations. The negotiation happen between the two switches. Okay. So the link is formed between the two switches. Okay. And it is a single link that is being done, or a single link is what it is defined after aggregating the ports. Okay. But when it comes to with aggregation, the negotiation is done by the Defense Pro device and the two switches. Okay. So first link is established between switch 1 and Defense Pro. The second link is formed between Defense Pro and switch 2. So here with aggregation, there are two links being created. Okay. Link number 1 and link number 2. Okay. But if you consider without aggregation, here we have just a single link. Okay. Just we have a single link between the two switches. But here we have two different links altogether. The advantage of this is something like this. So let's suppose we have 40 gig. Okay. We have every port is 10 gig. Okay. So we have combined the capacity, and the capacity now is 40 Gbps. Now let's suppose if one port goes down, now the capacity is 30 Gbps, right? 30 GB, correct? Now this port was not down. Okay. This particular port was not down, only this port was down, but still the bandwidth reduced to 30 GB. So here also we will have 30 GB, right? But now let's consider this side of the example. Now let's suppose this port goes down, okay? On the link 1, we have 30 GB, okay? But as this link is completely isolated from link number 1, we will still have link 2 with 40 Gbps of capacity, okay? A port going down here will not affect any of the links in the link number 2. So this link will not be down. Okay. It would still be up and running. So on link 1, we will have 30 GB, but on link 2, we'll have 40 GB. Basically, it will give you stability across multiple links. Okay. So that's the advantage. A change in one link does not affect the other link. So this is your link aggregation. Link aggregation is done in order to increase the bandwidth capacity or to get more throughput, and also gives you redundancy. Okay, also gives you redundancy as well. So this is the port link aggregation, which you can also configure on the Defense Pro devices. Okay, so this is your link aggregation. So you can configure it here under networking link aggregation. So these are the two ports which are configured. Okay, this is the link number 2, this is link number 1, and they're communicating with each other. So this is how you configure them. So link aggregation is only applicable for physical platforms, as you should be aware of. It is not applicable on the virtual machines. It is only applicable for the physical platform devices. So with that, we conclude this part of the presentation. So any question in this? I don't see any, so let's continue. So the next topic is related to protection policies. But before that, so what would be your preferred lunch time that you want to take? Since we have few participants from Israel, Germany, and other locations as well, I would like to have a common lunchtime so that we can go to lunch at the same time. I already had mine because it's already close to 4 p.m. in India. So, uh, what would be your preferred lunchtime? So, can you let me know?
I think like 1 hour from now or like 40
1 hour
minutes
from
from now. It's okay.
1 hour from now is what you're suggesting, right? Okay. So is everyone okay with 1 hour from now for the lunch break?
Yeah, for me, yes. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Great. Okay. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So I think that will work. So 1 hour from now we can have the lunch break. Okay. Till then we can continue with the presentations. And if we can finish it off before that, well and good. Otherwise, we can resume after the lunch break. Okay. So let's start with the next topic, which is related to protection policies. So here we'll be looking at the policy editor, which is the newly launched new dashboard when it comes to creating policies and protection modules for the Defense Pro devices, which is on the cyber controller. So this policy editor is part of the cyber controller schema. So this policy editor is part of cyber controller. With the help of policy editor, you can create policies. Okay, you can create policies and you can create protection profiles associated with the policies, which I'll show you later as well. Okay. Next, we have security templates and components of protection policies, what is part of it. So all this would be covered in this particular part of presentation. So let's start with policies and protections. So we have two things that we need to be aware of: protections, or it is also known as profiles, and second is policy. So let's start with policy first. Okay. So what is policy? Under the policy, we will be classifying the network which we are protecting. We will be classifying the network which we are protecting. Okay. So that is your policy. So within the policy, you will be defining which network are we protecting. Let's suppose on the labs, we are protecting this particular network 27.1.0.0/24. So this is the network that we will be protecting against attacks. Okay. So this particular network needs to be defined within the policy. Okay. We need to specify within the policy that we are trying to protect this particular network. Okay. And this classification can be done with the help of various other parameters as well. It is not just the IP address. We can classify the traffic based on VLANs. Okay, we can classify based on the layer 7 ports, or we can classify based on the traffic that you're receiving on a physical port. Okay, so these are some of the options based on which we can classify a incoming packet. Okay, so these are some of the points by which we can classify. So basically defined what we are doing within a policy is that we are defining the network that we are protecting. So that is important thing. So that is part of the policy, one major thing. Apart from that, okay, first is the network part that we are protecting. Second is what all protection profiles will we be using in order to protect this network? Okay. So the protection profiles are the protection modules which will help protect us this particular network. So let's suppose this is the network that we are protecting. And in order to protect this network, what are the protection profiles that we will be using? So the protection profiles would be BDOS, it could be DNS, it could be out of state. Okay. It could be, let's suppose, some other protection module like anti-scanning, etc. So these are all the protection modules or protection profiles, okay, which we'll be using in order to protect this particular network. So all these things would be defined within a policy. Okay. So all these things are defined within a policy. So I hope policy is clear. Here we need to define a network that we are protecting and the protection profiles that will be protecting the policy. So that is your policy part. Okay. Now let's look at the protection profiles individually. So that is what is the protection profiles. So profile is a set of configurations for each protection module and it is assigned to a policy. So what is protection profiles? These are nothing but modules which will mitigate an attack. Okay. These are protection modules which will mitigate or protect from an attack. Okay. Or which will protect from an attack. Okay. So these are the modules which will mitigate or protect from an attack. What are these protection profiles? We have BDOS, we have DNS, we have SYN flood protection, we have HTTPS flood protection, out of path, signature based protection, ERT active attackers feed, okay, anti-scanning, etc., etc., etc. So there might be multiple protection profiles. You need to select for in order to protect this network, which all protection profiles you will enable. So let's suppose you enabled BDOS, DNS, SYN, HTTPS. Rest you do not need to enable. So let's suppose you do not enable those things. Okay. You enable these and these will be your protection modules that will be used in order to protect this particular network against all the future attacks. Okay. So these are your protection profiles. And these protection profiles are associated with a policy. Okay. So these protection profiles are associated to a policy. Okay. So all the protection profiles that we have selected, BDOS, SYN, DNS, HTTPS, etc., those would be assigned to this policy and it will be used to protect this network. So these are the two things that we need to know when it comes to protection policies and profiles. Okay. So what is protection policy? A set of rules and regulation that defines what constitutes a secure network. Simply putting, whatever network that we are protecting, that should be part of the policy. Okay. Traffic filters. So not the traffic filter, sorry. The protection profiles need to be associated with the policy. So that is what is mentioned here. Okay. So protection profiles need to be associated with the policy. What does each policy contain? Each policy contain what we are trying to protect. That means the network which we are trying to protect, which protection profiles that we'll be using, like BDOS, SYN, etc. Okay. And third is the action of that particular policy. So whenever we detect an attack, what should be the action that the defense proof should take? Whether it should block an attack or whether it should just report only, etc. So those action you can define while defining a policy. And we can create multiple policies as well. Okay. And the order of policies is defined via the priority that you set. Okay. So these are the protection policies that you need to be aware of or things that you need to be aware of. So let's suppose these are the 4 servers. Okay. This is the LAN, okay, local area network. So this part is your local area network. And these are all your servers that you're protecting. The clients are coming from this part, okay. And you have a mail server, a web server, an FTP server, and a DNS server. And you might have other devices as well, okay. So now what we are doing is that we are defining policy for each servers, okay. We define a policy for mail server, a separate policy for web server, a separate policy for FTP server, and a separate policy for DNS server, okay. So within this policy, we can have different protection profiles as well, right? Let's suppose for the mail server, we require BDOS protection, SYN protection, etc. Same goes for the web server. For FTP server, we might just use signature-based protection. For the DNS, we will enable DNS protection profile, etc. So different policies will make sure that you have different protection profiles configured for you. Okay. You can configure in that way as well. So these are some of the things. So security, separate security policy for each of the server, or you can consider a single policy as well, but with different protection profiles. Even that is possible. So how to configure this? So before that, let's look at the priority aspect. Okay. So as I said, there can be different policies, right? So here we have configured 4 different policies, correct? And each policy need to have a separate priority level, like 10, 20, 30, 40, etc. So they have different priorities, and that priority is configured here under the security policy priority option. Now, higher the value, the higher would be the precedence. Okay. So higher the value, the faster it would be executed. So let's suppose we have this global network, okay, and we have a subnetwork, okay. The subnetwork priority is 60 and the global network priority is 10. So let's suppose it is something like this. So let's suppose the web traffic, okay, is we have configured a priority of 60 and all other traffic we have priority of 10. Okay, so this would be the complete network and this web would be a specific IP address within that particular global network. So in that case, if the traffic is directed to this specific IP with a higher priority, okay, then the protection profiles associated with this web server, okay, would be executed first. So the subnetwork would be executed first, okay. And then if the traffic is directed to, let's suppose, any other part of the network, then this would be the policy that would be executed. So we have 2 policies here, okay, web policy and global policy. Okay. So here, if the traffic is directed towards a web policy with a higher priority, that would be executed first. And if it is directed to some other IP address within the global network, then global policy would be executed. Okay. So this is a processing order. Higher the priority, higher the precedence. Okay. So this you can visualize on the Defense Pro device. So go to Defense Pro. Okay. Click on the configuration option, protections, protection policies. Here you will find the policies are defined or is categorized as per the priority level. Okay. So here you can see the higher priority. You can see that the web server is higher priority. Okay. So it is coming first. Okay. It is categorized based on the priority values. Okay. And these are all the protection profiles that are enabled for that particular policy. Okay. So these are all the protection profiles that are enabled to this policy. Now you might be seeing that it is mentioned as web server, okay, etc. But this is just a name. Okay. You can change it as well. So this is just a name that is being given by the admin. It could either be something like this is BDOS, this is SYN. Okay. So these are BDOS and SYN flood protection profiles, but the admin has just given a name of web server, etc. Okay. So don't do that part. If you have a BDOS, you can specify BDOS as well. Okay, so that is just a naming convention. Other things that you can see under this particular slide is the network classification. Okay, so here the source network is mentioned as any. That means if the traffic is coming from any IP address from worldwide any IP, okay, the traffic can come from any IP, and if it is destined to this particular range. Okay, so within this classification, we have already classified an IP address range to this destination network. Okay. So any traffic coming from the source, any source to this particular network, let's suppose this is the definition here. Okay. So any traffic from any location directed toward this, okay, then use these protection profiles in order to mitigate. Okay. You can have then let's suppose this is the IP address. Okay. Now let's suppose the mail server is on this. Okay. So traffic originating from this to this particular IP, then use this protection profiles. So this you can configure. But on the policy editor. So this is a policy editor page, okay? So the one which you see on the top, up till here, okay? This and above, this is the Defense Pro page, okay? Now this is a policy editor page. Now this is a policy editor page. On the policy editor page, as of now, we do not show it based on the priority, and even the priority values are not shown, okay? Under the policy editor, it is shown based on the alphabetical order, like D will come first, E, M, W, etc. So right now, we do not have an option to show it via priority, but that is one of the limitations. So you can always check on the Defense Pro page as well. So on the Defense Pro, it is properly classified based on the priority aspect. So that is one thing that I wanted to let you know. Coming to the policy editor. So how to enable the policy editor? So this is a cyber controller, okay? So click on this button on the cyber controller. Okay, once you click that, click on this. Under general settings, you will find advanced. Here you will find an option of policy editor for X license. It is disabled. You just have to click on enable and click on submit. Okay. Post that, you will see on the cyber controller that the policy editor has been enabled, and this is the policy editor page. Okay. So if you click on this on the cyber controller, you will see this page, and this page is known as security operations dashboard. Okay. On the right, you will find an option to add a policy. Okay. Something like this. Okay. So on the right, you will find an option to add a policy. And once you click on this, you will see a page like this. Okay. You will see a page like this. So once you click on add policy, you will see a page like this. Okay. So under the general and networks, you will need to classify the source, the destination, and the priority values. Okay. Source, destination, and the priority values as what we saw previously. Okay. This part. So under the general and network tab, you will find this option. What you need to do, you need to click on enable, give a policy name, let's suppose web server policy. Okay. Now this device, why we have this device tab? Since Cyber Controller is managing multiple Defense Pro platforms, we need to make sure that this particular policy that we are creating is getting associated to the proper device. Let's suppose we have DPX1, DPX2. So we have two devices of Defense Pro, but we want this policy to be associated with DPX1. Okay. So from the drop down, we will select DPX1. So that's why we have this option of device here. Okay. So first of all, we will give a name, policy name, select the relevant device. Okay. Give a description if needed, what this policy is doing. Then under the network table, we will be classifying that from any source to, let's suppose this destination is what we are protecting. Okay. Let's suppose this is the destination that we are protecting. So we'll mention destination and the network IP address that we are protecting and specify a policy like 300. Okay. So this is a protection policy. And once that's done, you click on submit. So that way we define a policy that what we are protecting. Next is the protection profiles. So these are all the protection profiles that we have, okay, or the protection modules. So you can select the relevant protection module that you want to enable. So in this example, we have enabled BDOS protection, out-of-state protection, signature-based protection, and SYNFLR protection, okay, and then click on submit. Okay, so this policy will basically be protecting this particular network using these protection profiles. Okay, so this is the basic overview. The advantage of policy editor incorporated into the cyber controller is this. So side by side, you can see whatever attack is happening. Okay. What are the detection events? Okay. At the same time, you can also modify right away. You do not have to jump to the Defense Pro page and then go there and make any modifications. What you can do, so let's suppose an attack has been detected. Okay. Under the detection events, you will find that the attack was related to DNS. Okay. So what you can do, you can check the profile or the policy. You can check the policy. Okay. You can see that it is DNS related attack which has been detected. So now attack has been detected, but right now here you're seeing that the DNS protection is disabled. So go there, make the change right away. You do not have to jump to the Defense Pro page. You can just simply select the policy on the right, okay, then just enable the toggle button and do the necessary advanced settings from here and click on submit. Now that particular policy will also support DNS flood protection. So instead of going from device to device, you have a centralized, first of all, centralized management, and also simultaneously you can see side by side, okay, whether an attack has been detected or whether we have the protection module enabled for it. So all those things can be done via the security dashboard or the security operations dashboard. Okay. So this is adding a new policy which I've already covered, but I'll explain it once more. So in order to add a policy via policy editor, click on this add policy. You will get this option. Okay. Enable it, give a policy name, select the device to which the policy needs to be associated to. Importantly, select the source and destination under the network table. You're basically classifying which network that you're protecting. Give a priority. Higher priority will have higher precedence. Okay. Here we have copy from template as well. Now this is important because what this does is that let's suppose you have multiple networks. Okay, you have multiple networks that you want to protect. Network 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Okay, what this will do is that you can create a template once. Okay, you can create a template once that these are the protection profiles that we are enabling. Okay, like BDOS, SYN, okay, out of state. You can create this template once that I am doing. We are enabling this, and these are the advanced settings within each protection profile and store it within a template. Now, the advantage of this is that let's suppose you're creating another policy. You don't have to do these settings again. That means enabling the toggle button for BDOS, SYN out of state, and doing advanced settings. It will take a lot of time, right? So instead of doing that, what you do is that you create a template once, and then once that is stored within the Defense Pro device, you can then import that template for other policies. Okay. So initially you created policy number 1. For that, you created a template. Okay. Now this template is stored on the cyber controller. Now you want to create policy number 2. Okay. Instead of doing all the settings again, you just simply copy this template and import it from here. Okay, so now you do not have to do rest of the configurations for policy 2. Okay, so that's where this copy from template comes in, and these are all the stored templates, okay, which was stored previously by the admin. So you can just import the template and click on submit. Okay. So that's exactly what we are doing. So we are copying the template, and once template is imported, you will see that the protection modules are already active. You do not have to do those configurations anymore. Then we have this as well. So this is the action that we are taking. So if an attack is detected, what action we should do? So here we are blocking and reporting. Okay, blocking means we are dropping the packets. Okay, block simply means that we are dropping the packets, and reporting means we are generating security events on the dashboard. Okay, so this is your security events. This what you see are the security events. And under the protection section, you can also do it individually as well. Suppose if you're not importing from a template, you can configure it individually. Like if you want BDOS protection, then just click on this toggle button, select action, that is to block and report. Okay. This I'll be covering tomorrow when we cover BDOS protection. What is footprint strictness? What is this bandwidth, etc. What are the present in the advanced settings? All those would be covered tomorrow. But make sure that you just for now know this part. If you want to enable BDOS protection, just click here. Okay. There is a drop down menu here as well, which is hidden. If you click on this drop down menu, you will find these options. Okay. If you want to do advanced settings for BDOS, just click on this advanced settings and this page opens up. Here you can see that this BDOS engine is protecting against all this kind of attacks. Okay, it is protecting you from SYN flood attacks, TCP ACK plus SYN flood, etc. It is recommended to enable all of them so that you're protected. Okay. This I'll be covering tomorrow as well. These are all the quota settings. Again, this is important from tuning perspective, which I'll be explaining tomorrow. Okay. And then once these settings are done, you can just click on submit and it would be saved. Okay. So once that's done, a policy would be created for you. Okay, and it will be protecting the network that you were initially trying to protect. So that is how you create a policy. Now, security templates. So this is where you create a template, and this template can be imported into other policies. So let's see how we do that. Okay, so you have to go here under the security operations, you will find security settings. Okay, so here these are all the policies. So you can add a policy. Okay, here this is where you will create a security template. So let's have a look. Okay, so here I'll just show you here. Okay, so if you go to the security templates, okay, so this is one of the security template called basic DNS. So as you can see, these are the protection profiles that have been enabled for this particular DNS DNS template. Now for the web template, we have enabled DDoS protection and these three, right? And for global, we have configured, let's suppose, we have enabled these protection profiles. Okay. Now these protection profiles that we have created, or the security templates that we have created, can be imported into a policy. Okay. Now this can be imported into a policy. Now how we can do that? So going back, so those are the template creation. Okay. So once we are doing this setting, that once we are adding the policy, from this option, you can basically select any of the stored templates. You can select the template and just import it directly. Okay. But first of all, you need to create a template, and this template creation is done here. Okay. So this template creation is done on this part. Okay. Now, one more thing, you can also delete this templates if required, or delete the policies as well if required. Okay, or you can import or export the policies as well. And in future, let's suppose if you, under this template, let's suppose you also feel that you want to add ERT active attackers feed, then you can simply click on edit, and within the template, you can enable this as well. So in future, under the DNS protection, you will also have ERT active attackers feed added as well. Okay, so templates can be modified as well at a later stage. Now that was all related to how we visualize the settings on the Cyber Controller policy editor. Now let's look the same at the Defense Pro GUI. Okay, so if you go here, you select the Defense Pro device. Okay, now one important thing, when I'm saying Defense Pro GUI, you cannot just plug in a cable to the Defense Pro and visualize the GUI. Okay, this Defense Pro GUI is visible within the Cyber Controller itself. Okay. Please note that whenever I'm saying Defense Pro GUI, I mean from the Cyber Controller, you can check the Defense Pro GUI. Okay. So here, go to Settings, select the Defense Pro, Configuration menu, Protection Profiles. So here we can visualize the same policies. Okay. So this is the policy that we had created via Policy Editor, and those policies are now reflecting on the Defense Pro device as well. You can also configure the policies from the Defense Pro page as well. Not required that we do it from the policy editor only. Okay. You can create it from the Defense Pro device as well. One major thing that I want to tell you with related to policy editor and Defense Pro device is that there is no synchronization as of now between policy editor and Defense Pro. Okay, so there is no synchronization between Defense Pro and Policy Editor. If you're doing any settings from the Policy Editor, it will simply override anything which is present on the Defense Pro. Okay. So I'll just give you an example. So let's suppose you have configured BDOS protection. So let's suppose for this profile, okay, let's suppose for this profile, initially you configured via this Defense Pro page. You added this, created this policy, and let's suppose you configured BDOS, SYN, and DNS protection. Okay, BDOS, SYN, and DNS protection. Okay, via Defense Pro page. Okay, now this you saved. Now you went back to the Cyber Controller, went to the Policy Editor. Okay, you selected the same policy. Okay, you selected the same policy, but there you just wanted to add ERT active attackers feed to these profiles, right? So you enabled ERT active attackers feed and then you clicked on submit. Now, ideally, you should have BDOS, SYN, DNS, and ERT active attackers feed, right? But since there is no synchronization between policy editor and Defense Pro, what it does is that it simply pushes only ERT active attackers feed. So all the settings that you had done via the Defense Pro would be erased and it would be overwritten by the policy editor. So here you would only have ERT active attackers feed and rest every setting would be removed by the Defense Pro. So that is one thing that you need to be aware of because we are working on it. It's still not in full, but we are working on it how to resolve that particular part. But as of now, there is no synchronization between the policy editor and the Defense Pro devices. So make sure that you are configuring either via policy editor or everything via Defense Pro. If you mismatch that one thing you're configuring on Defense Pro and other you're configuring on the policy editor, it might lead to issues. So that's something that I wanted to let you know initially. So components of a protection policy. So as I already mentioned, protection policy is where we define the classification or what we are trying to protect, basically based on network, VLANs, etc. So that is exactly what the components of these protection policies are. Okay. So first of all, we are doing the network classification based on IP addresses. So this is your IP addresses. Okay. Context means VLAN. Okay. So these are VLAN tags. Physical ports, you already know what are physical ports. Application ports are your layer 7 ports. Okay. Layer 4 or layer 7 ports. So those are your application ports. So traffic can be classified based on these 4 things. So first look at the network part. This is important from the practical exam point of view as well. So do pay attention. So go to the configuration tab, classes, networks. Okay. Here you will add a network. Okay. Then you will select the IP address and the particular mask as well. So this is the IP address and the mask that you need to specify. So ideally what we are saying is that we are protecting this particular network. Okay. Next option is the context groups or basically the VLAN. So based on the VLAN also we can classify. Okay. Like let's suppose we have VLAN 10. So all the traffic which is receiving on VLAN 10 would be the one which you are protecting. So that is based on context groups. Ideally, mostly we'll be using IP addresses for classification. Next, we have applications. So here we are making use of layer 4 ports, okay, or the application ports. So based on the application port, we'll be classifying the traffic. If any traffic is directed from this port to this port, then we will be doing the or making use of the protection profiles. Next are the physical ports. Okay, here we are only using inbound ports. So any traffic which is received on this particular inbound port would be the one on which we will be inspecting or using our protection profiles. So this is important. First of all, we need to classify what we will be protecting, and that is defined under the classes. Okay, mostly we'll be using the network part. Once that's done, you need to go to policies. Okay, how to go to policies? Let's go back. So under here, configuration, classes is what we saw. Okay, where we define network, VLAN, etc. You can select either one. Ideally, you'll be using network part. How to go to policies? Go to protections, protection policies. Okay. So we went there and this is what we see. So adding a new policy. So we'll be seeing this part. Okay. So this is how to add a policy. To create a new policy, click on that particular button. Okay. Give a policy name like web_server. The first tab is classification part. Okay. This is where you will provide the priority of the policy. The exact same thing we have already configured we have already seen how to configure via policy editor. I am showing how to configure this now via Defense Pro page. I'll just go back and show you where we did this on the policy editor. So this is the part. Okay. So this is the part where we did the exact same thing, like giving a priority, giving a policy name. Okay. Classifying the network part, etc. So the same thing we are doing now on the Defense Pro page. Okay, because you can configure the policies either via Defense Pro or via Policy Editor. So I have to show to you. So go to policy, create a policy name. Action is to block and report. Under the classification tab, you will give a priority to that particular policy. The source network would be any. That means the traffic which is coming from any location towards the destination network. So the destination network would be this. Now this is the destination network which you have defined in the classes. Okay. So whatever you have defined within the classes, you can import it from here. Okay. So that's one thing. Now if you're using port group, that means you're using layer 4 port. Okay. Direction is one way, that if you're inspecting only in one direction, you do not want to inspect in the response direction as well. Then in that case, you will select only one way. Context is your VLAN. Okay. So based on this, you're doing classification. It is not required that you configure everything. You can keep only these two. That means any traffic coming from any location towards a particular destination. Okay. So in that case, check the whether there is an attack, and if an attack is present, then use this protection profiles in order to block the particular attack. Next part is your profiles. So let's look the profile part. So these are the profiles. So these are all the protection profiles which you can enable, okay, individually. So if you want to configure individually, you can go to these options and then configure it. You can also configure it via here as well. So if you want to enable BDOS profile, just click on this add button. You will be taken to the BDOS page. There you can enable all the settings. Okay, once that's done, save it, and then from the drop down, just select the settings that you have configured. Okay, so this is how you configure individual protections. Okay, so that's done. Next is CDN handling. So CDN is used. So let's suppose I'll just give you an example so that it makes it easy. So we have a client, we have CDN in between. Okay, then we have Defense Pro device, and then we have a backend server. Okay, so this is how the connection is there. Okay, so we have a CDN in between. So every client has a certain client IP. Okay, so client has a client IP, actual IP of that client. The CDN will also have a CDN IP. Okay, so now when the traffic from the client reaches CDN, CDN will replace the client IP with the CDN IP. So at this point, okay, when the CDN sends the traffic to the Defense Pro, the Defense Pro will only see the CDN IP, right? Because on the layer 3, we are replacing client IP with the CDN IP. Now, this is something that we do not want to happen. We want to see the actual client IP. Okay, we want to see the actual client IP in order to block it. Otherwise, if we block CDN IP, we'll be blocking even the legitimate traffic, because let's suppose there is other clients as well. And if we block the CDN IP, that means we are blocking every other client which is sitting behind the CDN. So that is not something that we want. Okay. So what we can do is that we can check the actual client IP using layer 7 headers. Okay. So that's what is mentioned here. So the HTTP header used by CDN for the true client IP address. So once the CDN forwards the data towards the DPX, CDN, okay, adds a layer 7 header. So it adds a layer 7 header. It could be either true client IP header or X forwarded header, or any header in which the CDN adds basically. So CDN will send this layer 7 HTTP header. Let's consider the header name is CDN forward IP. So let's suppose this is the header name, okay, within which it mentions the actual client IP. So within this, it mentions the actual client IP. So what we can do is that under the CDN handling option, you can go here, okay, you can select under the other header name, CDN forward IP. So what this does is that when the DPX receives this data from the CDN, okay, DPX will check this header, okay, it will check what is the value present within the header. Now it will understand that this is the actual client IP. So basically what we are saying is that we are checking first on layer 7 using this header that what is the actual client IP. Okay. Now this is the first procedure. On the layer 7, we'll be checking first. Now, if on the layer 7, okay, if this particular address is not found, then we will use layer 3 source IP address. Okay. If on layer 7, if we do not have that IP address, we will be using layer 3 source IP address. Okay. So that is first part. We have this as well, graceful blocking action. Now, what is this? Graceful blocking action. So I'll explain that. So let's suppose client is sending some information. Okay, let's suppose it's an attack traffic. Now the CDN replaces the client IP with the CDN IP, right? Now the CDN, let's suppose this is an attack. Okay, so let's suppose this is an attack which is coming in. The CDN forwards it to the DPX. DPX senses that it is an attack and basically drops it. Okay, and basically drops it and does not send anything back. Okay, it does not send anything back, right? Any response from the DPX to the CDN is not present. It will simply drop the packet. Now the CDN, what it thinks from the CDN perspective, what is he thinking? That the CDN is sending the data, but we are not getting any response. The CDN thinks that the server is down. Okay, it does not know that it was an attack. The CDN thinks that the server is down because I'm not getting any response. So what this leads to is that all the clients which are trying to access this particular request or this particular server, the CDN tells that the server is down and hence I am not connecting with it. So this is something which we do not want to happen. So that's where this option is great to have. Now, if this is enabled, HTTP 200 OK and reset destination, what we are doing that the same attack happens. Okay, CDN forwards it to the defense pro. Defense pro blocks it. But now the defense pro, instead of not providing any response, the defense pro is actually providing a response that that I have received your request, okay, but I am resetting it, okay, but I am resetting it, okay, and along with a code. So I'm giving a 200 OK code and I'm resetting the destination. That means something is wrong. So now the CDN gets a response. Now it makes sure that it knows that the server is up. There is no issue with the server, but something is related to attack or something. And hence the CDN will simply resend it back to the client. Okay. So here we are not blocking other clients from accessing the resource. We are only blocking the legitimate client. And the CDN can also communicate with the server. So that is your graceful blocking action. So if you have a CDN, then only you need to configure these things. Otherwise, you can ignore it. Okay. Then we have packet reporting. So packet reporting is for having the packet captures. Okay. Basically, the packet capture file is generated whenever there is an attack. A packet capture file is also created, and this packet capture can be opened on a Wireshark application. Okay, so it can be opened on a Wireshark application, and you can see the entire details. So that was all about it for the policy editor and how to create the protection profiles and policies. So with that, we conclude this part of the presentation as well. Okay. Any doubts in this? If not, let's take the lunch break now because it's hardly 20 minutes from now, if I'm not wrong. So let's take the lunch break now and then we can resume with the two presentations that we have left. Okay.
Okay.
So let's have a lunch break. So it's 1 hour, okay, for you?
Okay. Yeah.
So let's take a 1 hour lunch break and then we can resume. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. So can you give me a thumbs up if you're back? Hello.
Hello, I'm here.
Perfect. Yeah. Hi.
Hello.
Yep, that's great. That's great. So I guess everyone's back. So let's continue. So we have two presentations left for today. So the first one is Defense Pro maintenance. So let's resume from where we left off. So under this presentation, we'll be looking at the management part of the Defense Pro, how to manage stuff, how to do configuration updates, how to do device updates, okay, how to monitor device and some security events. So all those things would be covered under this part, and even the backup and restore configuration. So all the admin related things that we need to do would be covered under this section. So changing configurations, taking configuration backups, okay, restoring configuration backups, okay, deciding which software version we need to upgrade, okay, updating signature files. So signature files can be scheduled, okay, so signatures can be scheduled to be updated onto a particular device, taking backups, okay, scheduling all these tasks, okay. You do not have to do it at the very same instant. You can schedule all these tasks as well. Like let's suppose you want to schedule the signature updates to be done on Friday 7 p.m. So even that is possible. You can schedule the tasks and at that particular time that event will take place. Also, we'll learn how to take backups and restore configurations. So configuration backups can be taken by a cyber controller as well. So Defense Pro management. So there are two ways to manage a Defense Pro, as you know. First one is the cyber controller method, which gives you graphical user interface. And next we have CLI, command line interface, which you can access via the console port or via SSH connections. So CLI is something that we are not covering here, but GUI is the more prominent option and the one which we'll be using more in real world scenarios. CLI is useful if you have more in-depth knowledge about the CLI aspect. It is faster compared to GUI, but yeah, you need more knowledge and you should be aware of all the commands that are there for you. So yeah, both options can be useful, but web interface is something that is easier to adopt earlier at an early stage. Okay, so graphical user interface is the one that we'll be looking into. Cyber controller, it is works on top of SNMP protocol primarily. Okay, you can also make use of REST API calls. So this is how the cyber controller page looks like. We have already seen this in the previous presentations, but just to uh, have a small revision. So this is how the cyber controller page looks like for you. Okay. So if you click here, you will get the security operations dashboard. Here you will find all the details. So if there is no attack, it will show peacetime. If the network that you're protecting is under attack, it will show under attack and this would be red in color. Okay. If you see the graph, you will find that this is the attack bandwidth. Okay, so all the things which you see in red, that is the traffic that is currently being dropped by the Defense Pro. Okay, the blue traffic is the one that you're receiving. So if you look closely, on top you will getting received traffic, and out of the received traffic, the red ones are the one which is currently getting dropped. Okay, you can also change the main graph. Right now, the traffic bandwidth is the highlighted graph, right? So this is the highlighted graph right now. Suppose you want to see this particular graph here. So in that case, you simply just click on this and this particular graph of new connections will now be showing here instead of the traffic bandwidth. Okay. So you can view in that format as well. Here you can change the time limit. So right now the content is showing for the last 15 minutes. You can change the time as well. So let's suppose you want to see the data for the last 30 minutes. You can set the timing from here. Also, you can select the devices. Right now, only one Defense Pro device is present. If there are multiple devices, you can select the device for which you want to see the information. Here you can see the detection events. So if there is an attack, a detection event is generated, which will basically show you what action is the cyber controller the Defense Pro is performing. So right now the Defense Pro is dropping the attack traffic. Okay. And the attack has terminated. That means the attack has stopped for the moment. That's why it is under peacetime. Okay. If it was under attack till now, it would be showing status as ongoing. That means the attack is still ongoing and we are dropping the packets. Okay. It will show the policy name as well. So which policy was currently mitigating the attack, which Defense Pro was being targeted. Okay. What is the IP address of the server that is being targeted? What is the type of the attack? Okay. Which protection module is mitigating the attack, how long the attack has been going on. Okay, so this attack lasted 5 minutes 45 seconds. So you'll get all this information under the detection events. If you click here, you will get more information related to which signature was used to mitigate an attack, okay? Where the attack was coming from, to which port it was coming from, what is the ID that has been associated with this particular attack for future transactions. So all these details can be uh, made available to you. You can add the policies from here. So this is the policy editor page. If you click here, you will be able to add the policy like we saw previously, where you specify the destination network, specify the priority associated with the policies, which protection modules you want to enable. So all those configurations can be done via this page. You can also visualize the Defense Pro Web GUI. So this was your cyber controller policy editor page. This is via Defense Pro. So go to configuration, select the Defense Pro, and then you will be able to see the Defense Pro page. One more important thing, while you're performing the labs, okay, if you see something that is read only. So if you're not able to configure something and it is read only, then check whether this lock option is like this. Okay. Now there are two scenarios. One, it would be like this, and one, it would be like this. Okay. Let's suppose something like this. You will see logo like this. Okay. The lock. If it is like this, it means you can edit. Okay. That means you can edit. And if this is a scenario, that means it is read only. So if you are unable to do any configurations, just click on this icon. Okay. So it should be like this. Okay. Then you can basically edit or configure. Okay. So this is for the lab. So make sure that the lock is on. Okay. It shows like this, and then you'll be able to edit the configurations. So here you can see all the device details. Okay. So it is a virtual Defense Pro platform, and this is the management IP address, and this is the software version. And you can also see here what is the system uptime. So it has been up since the last 2 days or so, close to 2 days. This is a navigation pane. You can see all the details here. So if you want to make any changes related to networking, you can go here. If you want to do the classification of the network, then go to classes, then select the network, IP ranges, etc. If you want to add a protection policy, then you will go here. So all those settings are present on the left side. This is admin related. Okay. So under operations, if you click, you will find options like importing the configuration file. That means storing the configuration file to your desktop. This is exporting configuration file. No, this is importing. Import means basically to put it in the Defense Pro. Export is basically uh, storing it on your local PC. Okay. So those are the things. You can update the security signatures as well. So all those things are present under the operations part. Now, this is CLI. We are not covering this much into detail, but CLI can also be used. So CLI, it's accessible via the console port, also via SSH-based connection. On our lab environments, we have something known as remote NG. Okay, remote MG. So this is where you will get all the SSH connections and console connections to the Defense Pro devices. So just click on this icon, which is on the taskbar. You can click on that and you can access the Defense Pro via SSH or console. It is very easy. It is mentioned in the lab how to access and everything. So not much required there. So this is how the page looks like, the CLI, and you can use all this command. One such example is this, where if you type in net IP interface, it will show all the IP address information associated with the Defense Pro. Like if you give this command net IP interface, let's suppose get, then you will basically see all the IP addresses which are associated to the networking devices, which is basically the Defense Pro. You will be able to see the management IP interface that you have set on the Defense Pro. Even if you, let's suppose, instead of get, you write set command, then you can set the IP address to a particular Defense Pro. So all these commands are useful. Device monitoring. So here, if you go, this is the monitoring tab of the Defense Pro. Okay, so this is a monitoring tab. If you go to overview, you will find these information that which is the hardware platform. So currently this is Virtual Defense Pro X. That means it's a virtual device running on top of software. This is the system uptime. This is the base MAC address. This is the current Radware signature file version. Okay, so we'll find all these details. When you come to software, you will find this is a software version. This is the build, the final status is this, the throughput license is this. So this is important. So you can identify what is the throughput license that has been purchased for this particular Defense Pro. Okay, so right now it is 1 Gbps. This is the legitimate throughput that I'm talking about. Okay, not the mitigation one, the legitimate throughput. Okay, then we can also find these details, that what is the RAM, what is the core, and what is the CPU speed, etc. The same information, if you want via CLI, you can run this particular command. Then we have port related information. If you click here, you will get the port related information, like on port 1, port 2. What is the admin status? What is the operational status? How many incoming bytes are we getting? Okay, out of that, how many are unicast packets? What is the MAC address associated with this ports, etc. And this is the command to find this on the CLI. Next, we have resource utilization. Under the CPU utilization, you will find all the flow engines. Okay, and what are the CPU utilization of those 4 engines you will get for the last 5 seconds. So for the last 5 seconds, this is the average utilization, which is 26%. And for the last 1 minute, the average CPU utilization of all the 4 engines combined is 29%. Okay. So all these details can be useful to understand how the flow engines are performing. And the equivalent command for CLI is this. How to configure device updates. So go to the partner portal, okay, or the customer portal. In the download section, you will find this option, application and network security. Go to Defense Pro, click on the Defense Pro button and click on subscribe to notifications. Once you click this, or you're subscribed to notification, you will get periodic notifications that a new software update or any new releases have been released, so that you will get it on your mail. So you can click this particular subscribe to notification button. If you go to downloads, application and network security, Defense Pro, below that you will find all the releases of the latest features. So you will find all these releases and it can be downloaded and then can be imported onto the device. So once you have the newest software version downloaded, okay, then you can simply upload them via the Defense Pro device. So go to Defense Pro, we'll go to configuration option, setup, software version management, update software version. Okay. Now you can click here, upload and activate new version immediately. Browse the selected file which you have downloaded onto your desktop. Okay. Browse it, select the relevant file and just click on upload and activate. Now there are 2 options. Here you will find the password. Okay. So if the new software version is a major upgrade, okay, if it's a major upgrade, then you need to provide a password. If it is a minor update, then you do not need to provide a password. I'll explain what that is, but right now just remember that if it's a major upgrade, you need a password, okay? And for a minor update, you do not need a password. And this is how you update a particular software version. And if you want to see which software version is currently active, you can go to the setup option, software version management. You can find that these are the software versions which are present on the device, but at the moment, only one would be active. And this is the latest one which is currently active on the device. You can also check which software version is the Defense Pro running on. You can also see the same details here as well. And you can store up to 8 software versions on the device, but remember only one would be in active state. So this is what I was talking about. So version upgrade. So if you're going from, let's suppose 10.15 to 10.15.01, this is considered as a minor version change. Okay. So if the software goes from 10.15 to 10.15, but only the last digit changes, okay, then it is considered as a minor version upgrade. Then in that case, no upgrade password is required. But if it's a major version upgrade, like let's suppose from 10.13 to 10.15, okay, this kind of change is indicated in the first or second number. If this is the case, then you require an upgrade password. Okay. And now the next question obviously would be, where can we find this password, right? So it is here. So you have to go to the Radware portal. Under the tools, you will find password generator. Okay. select the relevant Defense Pro platform and your existing software version. Once that's done, okay, you will need to provide the device information, the MAC address or the entitlement ID. Usually it would be the MAC address for the Defense Pro. Just provide the MAC address and generate a password. Okay, once you click on the generate password, this password would be provided to you. Okay, and this provided password need to be entered along with the software upload. So this password that is generated needs to be put here. Okay, this needs to be put here, and post that just upload and activate, and it will start the upgrade process. Now, if you click this button, once the software is uploaded, it will also activate the software version. But if you click this, it will basically just upload it and then you can activate it later. Okay. So that's the two options that are present here. Next, we are checking the signature database. So signature protection. If you're subscribed to signature protection, you will be getting periodic signature updates as well from Radware. So along with that, you also need to create signature description files as well. So where can we do that? So here you have to go to admin operations. Okay. Select updates security signature file. Okay. Here you can select either of the options. It would be Radware signature. If it is coming from Radware, so you will be having Radware signatures here. You can select these options either from radware.com, that means directly download from the portal. For this, you require your Defense Pro to be connected to the internet, okay, so that it can directly download from the portal, or you can update from the PC as well. So if you click on client, basically the signature file would be downloaded onto your PC. Previous to doing this, you should download the signature file to your local desktop and basically update from that local desktop if you select on client. So customer manually download signatures from the portal and select the file here. Okay, so if you're updating from your local PC itself, then select this particular option. Otherwise, if you want to download directly from the Radware portal, then in that case, use radware.com and you need to click on update. You can check whether the update has succeeded by going to monitoring option, operation status overview. Here you can find the relevant signature file version. Okay, so you can check which signature file version is currently on your Defense Pro device to just validate whether the signature update was successful or not. Next is updating network time protocol. So Defense Pro and Cyber Controller clocks should be synchronized, and this is done by enabling the network time protocol, which is configurable via Defense Pro page, setup, date and time. Here you can enable the NTP and provide the NTP server address. Okay, so this is simple. Same you can configure via Cyber Controller console connection as well. And this I guess you're doing this on the labs as well. So do perform this practical, then you're performing the lab part. Then we have configuration auditing. So this is necessary for organizations that need to adhere to regulations which require monitoring every configuration change. So configuration auditing may also come in handy if several system administrators perform activities on the system and the organization may want to know who did what. Okay, so that is your configuration auditing. So basically trying to understand which admin did what configurations on the devices. So for that, just enable this particular tab under the configuration audit. So go here under the setup reporting settings, click on configuration audit and enable this globally. Post that you will get these things on syslog. So we'll get the messages on the syslog that what are the changes being done, etc. So for that, you also need to configure syslog as well. So reporting settings syslog. Under syslog, do this part, enable this. Okay. And even for SNMP target address, you need to configure the or enable the configuration auditing events. And this is basically your cyber controller. So 10.10.240.15 is a cyber controller IP address, okay? And it works on top of SNMP, and that's why you're seeing version 3 traps and all. And the output messages look something like this on the syslog. and this is related to the cyber controller itself. So if you want to do it on the cyber controller, you can select this option, and this is the defense pro for which you want the traps to be sent. Next option is schedule tasks. So here we'll be scheduling all the tasks. So earlier we were using it manually. Now the cyber controller will do all those tasks automatically for you. You just have to schedule the task that this task should happen at this time and date, etc. So that is scheduling the task. So what all things can be scheduled? Signature updates can be scheduled. Signature description updates can be scheduled. Backup of the device. Like suppose you want to take backups every Friday evening at 8 p.m., then the cyber controller will take configuration backups of the devices at 8 p.m. on Friday. So that's what scheduling means. It can also download ERT active attackers feed, geolocation feed, etc. So let's look at it. So scheduling is done via this tab. So go to cyber controller, click on this button. Okay. From here, you can schedule the task. So this is how the task looks like. So click on add new task. From here, you can select whatever task that you need to perform. In this example, we are updating security signature files. Okay. We have given a name. Okay. Security signature update. We have given a description of what this task is exactly doing. Then you need to schedule the task. Okay. So here the task is to take or update security signature file daily at this time. Okay. So that is your scheduling. Next, you need to select on which device you need to update the security signature. So that is a target device list. So once we click on the target device list, you will find this part. Okay. So here you need to select the virtual defense pro. So once that's done, just click on submit. So what this task does is that it updates security signature files on this particular defense pro device daily at this time. And this is how it will show on the cyber controller page that it has succeeded in doing it at that particular time. Okay. Next is updating attack description file. So even this can be done. So here we need to schedule it daily. So what attack description file is? So signature protection. So signature protection module provides you with signature security updates. Okay, so these security updates protect you against known vulnerabilities. So whenever an attack is mitigated by security update service, you also need to have some attack description, like this was the attack and this is why we mitigated it using security update service. So that particular task that you have, okay, so that particular attack description also needs to be present along with the security signatures. So that is what we are updating here. Okay, so that we can show you under the detection event that this was the attack. Okay, so that's where updating attack description files become important. So here we are updating attack description file daily. Third task is to do device configuration backup. Now, this is something which you will be doing most of the times. So here we are configuring backups. Okay, we are scheduling it daily at this time. Okay, and the target device list is this Defense Pro. So basically taking backup of this Defense Pro device daily at this particular time. Okay, and this is stored on the cyber controller. Okay, and this particular backup would be stored in the cyber controller memory. Okay, so it will show you something like this, the device backup. It will show status as succeeded. Okay, right now, let's suppose these are all the tasks, okay, which is scheduled. Okay, so these are all the tasks, let's suppose, which are scheduled. But let's suppose you want to take the backup immediately. Okay, at this particular moment or at the next second, I want to take the backup, or let's suppose I want to run all these tasks at the very next moment rather than waiting for when we have scheduled it. So that can be done by selecting that particular task and clicking on this run now button. So when this is done, the task would be executed immediately rather than waiting for the scheduled time. This you will be performing on the lab as well. So you'll be doing all these things, and at the lab you will be running immediately so that you do not have to wait for the scheduled task to happen. Okay. Even that is possible. So after that it will show as successful. So configuration backup and restore from the Defense Pro device. So go to configuration, Defense Pro. Okay. Go to operations menu. This is where you will export the configuration file. So you can save the configuration file using this method. And to import it, you will use import configuration file. Okay. Now first, let's see how to export it. Okay. Exporting, if it is selected as client, it will export the configuration backup onto your local PC. Okay. And if it is selected as server, okay, if its destination is selected as server, it would be exported onto the cyber controller. Okay. And these are the private keys used if SSL protection with keys and certificates are used. So you can provide the private, the password as well in order to protect the SSL keys and certificates. And if you select the server, it will basically be stored on the cyber controller server, as I already mentioned. So there are two options to store. If you selected client, it will store on a local PC. If you select the server, it will store on the cyber controller. Okay. And maximum 5 configuration files can be stored on the cyber controller device. Okay. Next, to import. To do the configuration import, you will select client. Okay, if the configuration backup is on your local PC, then you will import from the local PC. In that case, select client. Okay, browse for the file from your PC and just click on import and provide the passphrase that you had provided here. Okay, whatever passphrase that you have provided here while exporting, the same passphrase you need to enter here as well. And if you had earlier selected server mode, and if your configuration backup is on your cyber controller itself, then in that case, import from the server. Okay. Select the file. Since the files are already stored on the cyber controller, you just need to select it from the drop down menu. Okay. And provide the passphrase if it was earlier provided and just click on update. Post that, the particular Defense Pro device would be upgraded. Sorry, the configuration settings would be pushed on that particular Defense Pro device, and it would be with the latest configuration which is present in this particular file. Okay. So this is how you do the management activities on the cyber controller. You can schedule the task, you can run it immediately if you want to, and do all those necessary admin related changes. So that's what we have covered till here. And with that, we conclude this presentation. We have one presentation left, which is related to analytics part. So let's take that as well and complete with the presentation aspect of things. And then I can share you the lab access so that you can continue with the labs for the day. So the final topic for today is AMS analytics for Defense Pro. So this is primarily deals with what we can see on the cyber controller, all the dashboards and widgets, which will be useful for you to monitor the statuses of your network. So here we'll be looking at real-time and historical reporting. So one more important thing, Cyber Controller shows you real-time as well as historic data, while the Defense Pro device will only show you real-time information. It does not hold historical data. So if you want historical data, then you need to have Cyber Control. It presents all the information. It is not accessible via mobile browsers for now. Okay. So this is how the analytics page looks like. So in order to access this, you have to go to AMS Analytics, the third option from the top, which is this part. Okay. You will find all these tabs being available to you. Okay. So you can select either of these options. The one which is not, the one which is blurred is not related to the Defense Pro. Okay, that's why it is not showing. And these are for legacy platforms. Okay, that's why it is blurred out. The Defense Pro X has a better analytics platform and it is available via Cyber Controller X license. Okay, so toolbar. So this is the dashboard toolbar. So here you can select the device for which you want to see the information. Okay, you might have multiple Defense Pro devices for which you want to see the information. Just select the relevant device. Okay, right now we have just one device and hence it's showing one. Exclude malicious IP addresses. This is another thing. So let's suppose there are a lot of security events being shown to you. Okay, exclude malicious IP addresses means ERT active attackers feed might have generated a security event, and it might have, let's suppose, 10 security events from ERT active attackers feed. So if you click on this, those 10 which are detected by ERT active attackers feed would be removed from the list. So that is what excluding malicious IP addresses means. Okay. You can select the filter as well. So these are the filters. It is by default, it shows for the last 15 minutes, but you can change the filter to 30 minutes, 1 hour, etc. This is the scope settings. So scope settings, if you select the devices, you can be able to see which Defense Pro platform you're selecting at the moment, and information only related to that Defense Pro will show. Otherwise, you have also related to policies. So only the data related to that policy will be showing up on the dashboard. So you can select either one of them. Okay, this is a time range from 15 minutes to last 1 hour, and you can select historical data as well. So you can go to, let's suppose, this date and check the time range that for this 6 hours, what was the data that was presented, and you can visualize all those things on the graph. Coming to dashboards, let's look at the Defense Pro Analytics dashboard. So these are all the dashboards which are present. On the left, we'll be seeing one by one. So this is a Defense Pro Analytics dashboard, the first dashboard. Here you can see all the top attacks. As you can see, the top attack is the SYN flood attack, which has happened the most, followed by network flooding attacks based on ICMP, TCP handshake violation, etc. So these are the top 5 attacks which are taking place. Top attacks by volume, attacks by threat category. So all the attacks are characterized and put it into a wonderful graph, something like this. So it will show you all the top attack destinations. So this is the most targeted destination at the moment. Attack sources, so it is coming from this particular attack source, which are the top attacks by protocol. So TCP is the one which is being mostly used. Attacks for period, etc. So these are just limited widgets that you can see. If you want to see more widgets, you can click here, okay, on this button, and then you will get an entire list of widgets which you can select which one you want, and those widgets will be showing on the dashboard as well. So you can select those widgets from this option. Let's suppose if you do not want to have this particular dashboard, you can simply click on the X icon and it would be removed from the dashboard. Okay, this is what I was talking about. So you have widgets, you will get the entire list of widgets. You can select either one of the widgets that you want and click on add selected widgets, and those 3 widgets will then show up on the dashboard. You can also clear the dashboard as well. This dashboard is important. So this is Defense Pro behavioral protection. This is where you will see the actual traffic. Okay. This particular dashboard is very important from the tuning perspective, because we will learn tomorrow how to use this particular graph. Okay, so here we have these 3 edges, which is normal edge, suspected edge, and attack edge. And the traffic that you see here is your legitimate traffic at the moment. Okay, ideally, the traffic that you're seeing here in purple should be closer to this line. It should be something like this. Okay, it should be closer or below the normal edge. Okay, now in this case, the traffic is well above the attack threshold. That means there is a BDOS, there is a attack related to SYN flood. Okay, so there is a SYN flood kind of an attack in this case, and hence right now we have to mitigate it. Okay, so but let's suppose if it's a legitimate traffic and you're seeing this amount of traffic, then you need to fine tune it. Okay, so let's suppose this is a legitimate traffic and not attack traffic, and it is still above the attack threshold, then we need to fine tune it. Okay, that means we need to take these 3 lines somewhere here. Okay, so we have to move the lines from here all the way up to here, so that the traffic is well below this particular line. Okay, so that part we'll be seeing tomorrow when we take a BDOS, but this dashboard is very important from the tuning perspective. Also on the Defense Pro, you will be able to see only one graph at a time, okay, or only one widget at a time. But on the cyber controller, you can visualize multiple widgets in one go, which makes it easier to manage. Okay, so this is under Defense Pro behavioral protections. Next, we have HTTPS flood protection. This we are not covering. It's part of level 2. Then we have network analytics. So this is a newly introduced page where you can see the traffic that we are receiving. how many packets are we dropping, how many challenged packets are there. This exact same thing is also available under the security operations dashboard as well as a summarized format. But here you will get more information. Okay, like what are the top source IP addresses, what are the top destination IP addresses that are being targeted, what are the top applications that are under attack. Okay, what are the top policies that are getting triggered. Okay, so all these things would be, or which are the top countries from where the attack is originated from. So these information you can get under network analytics. Then we have this as well, ERT active attackers feed dashboard, where you can find the IP addresses. Okay, the top malicious IP addresses. So these are all the top malicious IP addresses that we have right now. Okay, top attacking geolocations. So attacks are originating from these geolocations. Okay, breakdown by malicious activity. So the attackers are more performing scanning activities. Okay, so these things can be visualized under ERT active attackers threat dashboard. If you click on live threat map, you will be directed to a Radware page where it will show you what exactly is happening globally, where the attack is originating from, not related to your network as such, but at a global level, which are the top attacking countries, which countries are getting attacked the most. Okay, what kind of attack it is happening. So it will show you a live threat map, which you can later visualize as well. Okay. Next is the report dashboard. So a report can also be generated. So inside report, what do we have? So inside the report, we have all the dashboard content plus widgets. Okay. So all the dashboards which you have seen previously, all the content of those dashboards can be part of the report. Okay. So how to create a report? Go to analytics, click on reports. Okay. Then add a report. Then click on new report. Okay, a new report would be generated for you. Okay, you can edit it, you can check which dashboards you want to have, which widgets do you want to have, and then create a report, and you can download the report in PDF or CSV format. This is, I guess there's a small video as well. Yeah, so there's a small video which shows you how to create a report. So click on new report. Okay, give a report name. You can add your own company logo as well. Okay, and you can schedule the report as well, that you want to run it at a particular time or particular date. You can do that as well. So here we are scheduling the task, and you can run the report and at that particular time. Okay, on the left side, if you see the templates, those are all the dashboards, okay, that we had seen previously. You can select from the templates where you want to forward the, this is just sharing, so it can be sent via email as well. So now you can see the dashboards. Okay, so these are all the dashboards and widget list. You can select the widgets that you want to be part of the report. Just drag the widgets that you want, okay, onto the right, and then those widgets would be part of your report section, and it will be in the same format. Okay, you can also move the format as well. Like suppose if you want attack by threat category to show up on the top, just click on it and drag to the top. Okay, so it will show in that order. So here we are just selecting the widgets that we want inside a report. Okay. You can also click and drag the section. Okay, just click on submit, and once that's done, just generate a report, and that report would be generated in some time for you. It takes some time, a few seconds or so, but once it is generated, it will show report. Just click on it, and the report would be generated. Now this you can download in PDF format, and you can store it on your desktop. And this is how a report looks like. So it is showing all the widgets that we had seen previously, along with some relative information. that was all about the report part. So let's look at the forensics now. Similar way, forensics gives you these information. So you can create forensics as well. So under the AMS Analytics, go to the Forensics tab, click on New. And once you create a forensics, it will show something like this. So this are the details that you can get. So it will give you some information related to the attack and what the Defense Pro did. So Defense Pro dropped the attack. Okay. This is a real-time signature that was being used to mitigate an attack. It was targeting this particular server on the backend. So the Defense Pro is basically protecting this destination IP addresses. The method used to mitigate this attack is real-time signature blocking. Okay. The attack has been completely terminated. It means that the attack has stopped. It used behavioral DOS engine, right? So you get all this information and you can utilize this information for further scheduling. Next, we have alerts part. So basically this will alert email notification. Suppose if a threshold is breached or anything, you get a notification that this event has happened and you'll get an email notification. So that is configurable under the alerts part. So with all this, we have completed the presentation aspect of things for today. Okay. So now I'll just show you how to access the lab for now. So I've already created the labs for you. Just let me share my screen so that I can share the lab details with you. So these are the labs that you need to do for today. So first one is this part. Okay, just let me see. So for today, you need to perform these labs. Okay, there's initial setup, administration, and analytics. So these three labs you need to perform for today, which is 1, 2, and 3. The first one you can ignore. That is just a troubleshooting aid for you. So if you get stuck somewhere, you can refer this. So majority of the solutions or commonly found errors are being mitigated using this troubleshooting aid. So if you get stuck somewhere, just refer to this troubleshooting aid and it can help you out with a relative solution. Okay. The commonly faced issues by our participants, the solutions for those issues are mentioned within the troubleshooting aid, but you can ignore if you're not getting stuck. You can directly jump to these particular labs and perform those labs. Okay. The lab access details are something like this. Okay. So this, instead of this, you will have NJVPN. Okay. So you need to go to this particular URL, which is https://njvpn.radware.net. Okay. The username are mentioned here according to your names. Okay. So each one of you have been assigned a separate username altogether. So use your own username, but make sure that we do not have DPX02. Okay. Just in case you might just use some other labs which are part of some other students. So do not use that. We do not have DPX2. We do not have DPX07. Okay. We do not have 12 and 13. So make sure you do not use these ones. Okay. Do not make use of these ones. You have been assigned individual usernames. Okay. Use those only. Those are the usernames and the password is common for everyone, which is this. So how to access it? Go to this particular URL. Okay. You will be directed to this page. You will be directed to this page. Enter your relative username. Okay. So in this case, for Yusuf, it is DPX06. Okay. So you will enter DPX06. The password would be this. Okay. So the password is this. Then just click on sign in. Once you do that, you will see a page similar to this. Just click on this icon. Okay. And then you will be directed to a RDP client. Okay, so here you will be directed to the RDP client. Here you can use Microsoft Edge browser. Okay, then you can open Cyber Controller via this tab and you will see all these details. Okay, the username and password is Radware Radware for cyber controller. You can log in using that, or whatever username and password which is mentioned in the lab manual, you can refer that and log in accordingly. And then just perform the tasks which are mentioned in these 3 lab guides. I hope you have already downloaded the lab guides. So have you all downloaded the guides? I had already mentioned in the mail yesterday.
Yeah, for me, yes.
Okay. Suppose if anyone has not downloaded it, I can share it as well on chat as well. So if
Yeah,
someone is missing, I can
Yeah.
share it as well.
Yeah, can you share it? I don't think I
Yeah.
have the manual yet.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that for you. Okay.
Alright.
I'll share the lab manuals, and the presentations I can share later, but lab manuals I'll share immediately. But
Alright.
this is how you access it. I'll also share this as well, this information as well on the chat as well.
Yeah,
So
can you share the password as well in the chat, please?
yes, I'll do it. I'll do it. No worries.
Thank you.
So in order to access the console connection, you have to go to mremote ng application. This is already present on the taskbar. Okay. So let's suppose if you want to open cyber controller connection, then just click on this and you will see something like this. Okay. A remote console connection. And during the labs, you will also be performing attacks and visualizing how the Defense Pro is mitigating the attack. Okay, so all those things you will be doing on the labs as well. So make sure you do it today itself, so that tomorrow you will have more time in order to practice on the Defense Pro devices. Okay, so with that, I conclude my part. So thank you so much for attending. I hope the session was informative. And today you will be continuing with the BDOS protection, DNS protection, etc. Okay. So today we have completed with all the presentations. Now it's time for you to perform the lab activities. If you get stuck somewhere, you can put it on the chat and I'll be there to assist you. Okay. Otherwise, we'll meet tomorrow. Okay. So thank you, and I hope you have a great time ahead. And I'll also be putting the manuals in the chat as well. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Can
do
you
the
please
same.
put the URL also?
Yeah, sure. I'll
The
do
link?
it. I'll do it right
Thank you.
away.